Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's time to replace. And right now, you can get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen. Plus, with our March 31-day sales event, you can save $377 off every window and $777 off every door when you buy 4 or more units. Just text OWN to 200-300 for your free consultation on top quality affordable windows or patio doors for no dollars down, no monthly payments, and no interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Text OWN to 200-300 to save $377 off every window and $777 off every door when you buy 4 or more units. Hurry, this incredible 31-day sales offer is only in March. Text OWN to 200-300. Text the word OWN to 200-300. OWN to 200-300.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Hey, miss, I don't mean to be telling tales out of school, but there's a fella in there who'll pay you $10 if you sing into his can. I'm not here to make a record, you dumb cracker. They broadcast me out on the radio.
Joey Clark.
Welcome into News and Views in the afternoon here on a lovely Monday. Wish the weather was always like this. So much to get to today. Later in the program, we will have State Senator Will Barfoot, I believe, in studio talking about how the session has gone. Brylan Hollyhand, who, a young man with a new book coming out, will be joining us at the top of the 1 o'clock hour. And joining us now, we have on the phone, he's a candidate for Congress. He's a great man, in my humble opinion. We have Dick Brubaker on the line. How are you today, sir?
Good morning, Joey Clark. Great to be on the #1 talk radio show in Alabama.
Man, I don't know about that.
I'm sure it is.
Well, we'll work at it. Well, you said Central Alabama. Okay, I see. It was properly qualified. So, where all have you been in the last few days? And right now, campaigning.
We've been campaigning in Conecuh and Monroe County this morning. Driving back to Montgomery for 2 more meetings before the day's finished. So it's been a great campaign day.
And would you say you're getting to know the district like the back of your hand?
Yes, I am. And this is a big district. I'm telling you, we're doing a great job wearing out cars and tires, but I've gotten to meet a lot of great people. And, Alabama's just a great state.
Well, so let me talk about one issue that a close friend of mine brought up, and it's something I haven't asked you or any of the other candidates about yet. A big part, as you probably know, of running a congressional office is constituent services. And one issue that particularly comes to mind, not passports, everybody can do that. I mean the VA. Often I will still hear horror stories about the Veterans Administration, and particularly on the medical side. Do you have a plan for setting up a pretty robust constituent services for problems with the VA or any problems folks might have here locally?
Listen, if you do a good job with constituent services, you can stay in elective office almost as long as you want. And when I was in the state legislature, I spent more time on constituent services than anything else I did. And the same way in Congress, and you, with as many veterans as live in Montgomery especially, but also there are a lot of veterans all throughout this congressional district. And problems with the VA seem to be universal.
Yeah, and it really is a shame. Is this just the cost of socialized medicine? I know there have been some changes, including under the Trump administration, to try to give people better help, but it seems like the issues just don't ever go away.
No, they don't. And the main issue I've heard about while I'm campaigning is the number of days you have to wait to even get in to see a doctor. And I met one veteran who's telling me he had to wait 80 days, and this wasn't even to see a specialist. Now, I don't know if that's typical, but it's certainly unacceptable.
Yeah, it really is a problem. Well, that's one thing up there that really comes to mind. Now, also in this day and age, I would say Donald Trump kind of broke the Republican Party. He kind of broke American politics, but he definitely broke the Republican Party, I think, in my humble opinion, largely for the better. But I'll ask you this simple question. What does it mean today to be a conservative?
I think the main, the tipping point for me is whether or not you want to make government bigger or smaller. And through every office I've ever held, I've always worked to make government smaller. Because all a big government can do is take things away from you more efficient. And my issue with a lot of conservatives these days is when they talk about government and what government's for, they sound a lot like liberals. They think the main engine to solve problems is government. And that's not true. Not at all.
Well, how do we change people's mentality? I was just saying off air to one of the guys in here that people are mistreating government like God, or less, say, wholly like a sugar daddy. It's
well, exactly. Sugar daddy is much more appropriate. I mean, the first thing, if we want to rein in inflation, encourage business, I mean, we've got businesses in Montgomery and Mobile. You talk to people who own businesses, they can't hire. Alabama has one of the lowest labor force participation rates in the country. And the people to blame for that live in Washington. I mean, you used to have to be a veteran for the government to help you with housing and give you financial assistance every month. Now you just have to be unwilling to work. And that's got to stop. We got to stop paying able-bodied, healthy people to stay out of the workforce.
Yeah, it really is miserable to see. And
well, it's ridiculous. I mean, someone who got on the COVID benefit right at the beginning, to get a job in Montgomery where they break even, they have to make $66,000 a year. That's insane. Business people are closing stores because they can't hire staff. And any politician who wants to separate wealth from work is a socialist. And these benefits, it's time for that tap to be turned off.
Now,
if you're able-bodied and you're between, 18 and 65, you need to work and not have the government pay for your house.
Well, and you use the term socialist. I think the biggest, most obvious form of socialism I've seen recently, and what you describe is very true, but this particular case, the AG of New York State going after Donald John Trump to essentially say, we're going to charge you with a penalty that could potentially take away your businesses. There's been breaking news, folks, where another court has ruled the bond will be much less substantial, only $175 million, not $500 million. But this is a case where the banks that supposedly Trump defrauded said, no, he made us money. We love his business. We have no complaints about him. And yet this government continues to go after him.
Even if you're a socialist Democrat, you should realize that if the government can do that to a guy like Donald Trump, they can do it to you. And this has been the Attorney General of New York State has gone way out of her way to make this a political show trial. And the vehemence with which government agencies are attacking President Biden's political opponent is unacceptable. And, it's interesting that most of the press, who's always claiming they want to protect our rights, our First and Second Amendment rights, certainly are standing by. And this is the first time in my life somebody's been prosecuted primarily because of his politics. Whether you like Trump or not, this is wrong.
Do you think they succeed in taking him out? Because I know Trump's ain't going to quit. But do you think he and the conservative movement, the folks backing him now, can overcome this?
Yeah, I think we can overcome it. I think we have to. I think that, first of all, it's not in Trump's DNA to quit. And I don't see how democracy can survive the party in power can use state courts and a politically motivated attorney general to silence the other side. And that's it. And that's exactly what's going on here. We're not debating about January 6th and insurrection or any of that stuff. We're talking about a trumped-up fraud case where the so-called victims aren't even claiming that they're victims. The whole thing is absurd. It's ridiculous.
It really is. And again, folks, we're talking to Dick Brubaker. He is a candidate running for Congress here in the brand new District 2. Now, over the weekend or at the end of last week, the days are running together. The Congress passed this budget bill, if you wouldn't even call it a budget, to keep the government open. I believe the only two people in the entire Alabama delegation of the House and Senate that voted for it were Terry Sewell and Katie Britt. Everybody else voted against this thing. I mean, you know how these sorts of games work better than me, Dick. Like, how would you deal with this omnibus spending game they constantly play? How do we get our house back in order financially?
Stop passing continuing resolutions. I mean, at some point, you just got to say no and go back to passing real budgets. One of the problems with reining in federal spending is we don't have real budgets anymore. I mean, government is being run on a long series of continuing resolutions where people aren't looking ahead farther than 3 months. I mean, you can't run a country that way. You also can't control spending that way. I mean, the reason Joe Biden thinks he can spend whatever he wants on Ukraine or on green energy or you name it is because he's pretty sure that Congress isn't going to shut down government. And so far, he's been right.
And I'd imagine when you're up there as a member, say you're in the House there with 435 other members, I mean, how much sway does one individual congressman have? And that's a genuine question. Sometimes folks hear a promise and they're like, well, you didn't pull this off. What's the reality of actually having to work, with your colleagues in a legislature like that?
Well, it's hard to say since I haven't met most of them yet.
Fair.
But a lot of that depends on whether you're in the minority or the majority. And one of the reasons this race matters, if Republicans want to stay in the majority in the House, we better win races like Alabama 2. But the other thing is, you're right. As an individual, a U.S. senator, just like a state senator, has a lot more pull than an individual member of the House. And that's why it's important to be able to pull together groups of like-minded people. And let's put it this way, you're going to have more people than just you. And
right.
On the spending side, as long as inflation, especially in the food sector, stays as high as it is, there's a lot at stake right now. We have got to rein in spending. We have got to get the government encouraging American energy production instead of doing everything they can to stand in its way. When Joe Biden got elected, gasoline was $1.86 a gallon in Alabama. And if you want to know why you're paying more for eggs, more for milk, more for sugar, is it costs twice as much to transport it as it used to. And this isn't being driven by an OPEC embargo. It's being driven by federal government policy on fossil fuels. And it's helping nobody except a few green energy elites. And it's got to stop.
Well, I just filled up at the pump last second, had 20 miles left on the car, and $50 straight up. And I'm just, in a little sedan, a Kia. I think I bought it from you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's a great Kia K5, folks. Still a great car. But I'm also worried that it's not just the Biden policies. Of course, this terror attack just happened in Moscow at the end of last week. ISIS-K seeming to take credit for it, though the Russians also seem to be pointing fingers at the Ukrainians. I've also heard word that there are some Ukrainian incursions across the border and hitting of, say, oil refineries, these sorts of things. Do you think this war, number one, continues to hurt Americans economically? And then my larger question is, I'm worried either way, whether the Ukrainians lose or start to really win. What happens when you back the Russian bear into a corner?
Well, the U.S. what policies we actually have in Ukraine are that officially our government has opposed Ukrainians crossing the Russian border. In other words, our aid is only supposed to be being used to push Russians out of Ukraine. Now, if there really are infantry incursions into Russian territory, that's something that is incredibly dangerous. But the thing is, you know, the Biden administration just sent elements of the 101st Airborne, or is about to Gaza, supposedly to deliver aid. How many of these brush fire wars is the Biden administration going to stumble into? Do we really want troops on the ground? I mean, we're supposed to be an ally of Israel, and yet the new troops we're sending to the Middle East are going to build a pier in Gaza? I mean, what are we doing here?
Well, and I've been... sorry, go ahead.
Well, we're backing Russia into a corner, like you said, and stumbling into possibly an armed conflict with China, all at a time where our Army can't even meet recruiting goals. I mean, the Biden administration needs to be gotten out of office, and we're going to have to rebuild our national defense before we find ourselves fighting 2 or 3 wars at the same time.
Yeah, it's just across the board. It seems like it's like playing a game of chess on to lose. Maybe they're setting some brilliant trap, but I don't see it by any means. Now, pretty much running.
No, I don't see it either.
Yeah,
I mean, and on Ukraine, if we're going to continue doing anything, we're supposed to be part of an alliance, and if our NATO partners, who have very robust economies, are not going to do their share, maybe it's time for us to rethink the whole thing.
Well, amen to that. Now, we're pretty much out of time here. Folks are wanting to help you out as we head out to this runoff on April the 16th. Again, folks, the deadline to register, I believe, is April the 1st, if you aren't already registered to vote. But how can folks help you?
Go to BrubakerForCongress.com and make sure you vote. April the 16th, Brubaker for Congress. Thank you, Joey.
Thank you, Dick. Again, folks, that's Dick Brubaker, and we'll look forward to talking to him next week as well. And I believe tomorrow at 2 we will have his opponent in that runoff, Caroline Dobson. Just double-checking my schedule here. I'm a little manic today. I'm a little all over the place, but, we'll survive. Now, as I was talking there to Dick, that I was watching Trump give an impromptu press conference. Let's see if I can actually find that and pull that up, because Trump seems to be, it's not one of these quick ones with bad audio. It appears to be a pretty long-winded missive, long-winded statement here, going back and forth. So I want to go to the very beginning of this, and, let's listen in, he said. No, not going to work. All right, then. That's just wonderful.
I'm sort of people forget with that.
Here we go.
Not at this level, but we've really had nothing like it that I've been able to find. It does happen a lot in third world countries, banana republics. If you look at what we just left, you have a case which they're dying to get this thing started. The judge cannot go faster. He wants to get it started so badly. And there's tremendous corruption. You have Mark Pomerantz. He was Hillary Clinton's lawyer, or Democrat National Committee's lawyer. He worked in Paul Weiss. He walked in and he took over the district attorney's office. Nobody's ever seen anything like that, to prosecute Trump. And then they wouldn't do what he wanted to do, and he goes out and he writes a book. Long before any decisions were made, he writes a book about it. And the book gets published, and everybody's reading his book. And the judge said there's nothing wrong with that. And if you look at Bragg had a fit over that. Bragg said this trial is now dead. We can't do the trial. Well, that was one of the problems, and the judge should have allowed that to happen. And you had other instances like Colangelo. Colangelo is a radical left from the DOJ who was put into the state, working with Letitia James, and then was put into the district attorney's office to run the trial against Trump. And that was done by Biden and his thugs also, because they can't win an election because of the borders, because of energy prices, because of inflation, because of Afghanistan, the worst and most embarrassing day in the history of our country. He can't win because of Russia, 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 because of all the problems, because of Ukraine being attacked by Russia. And he can't win because of the October 7th attack of Israel, which he should have never allowed to happen, would have never happened if I were president. Ukraine would have never been attacked if I was president. And you wouldn't have inflation if I was president. We didn't have inflation. So all of these things, so what they do is they do election interference, which is court cases, and let's try and tie him up, and let's take as much of his money as possible. I respect the appellate division for substantially reducing that ridiculous amount of money that was put on by a corrupt judge named Engoron. He ought to be looked at, seriously looked at, especially what he did with valuations. He's the one, he's a fraudulent valuator, where he values Mar-a-Lago at $18 million, and people say it's worth 50 to 100 times that much, the biggest experts in the business.
Yeah, pausing it there are actually commentators on CNN at the end of last week, well, saying that Trump could probably just sell Mar-a-Lago and make that bond. I mean, he could at least sell it for 200-something million. Remember that this judge in that case valued Mar-a-Lago at $18 million. This is criminal. Now, I've often said on these airwaves, government is a gang of thieves writ large. I don't care what team you're rooting for. But this is literally criminal, mob-like behavior on the part of this New York judge, on the part of the New York legal system, which I think has, well, especially if you're looking to do business in that state, in that city, why would you? If you don't want to play ball with the politics and the body politic there, why would you even do business in New York? There are plenty of other big cities in this country and around the world that are going gangbusters, and they aren't going to have the same sort of show trials as New York City is now putting on. But let's keep going with President Trump here.
So he ought to be looked at, and James ought to be looked at, because she tried to get him. She's like the puppet master of the judge. And, you know, our state, this state, is losing tremendous prestige. It's losing its companies. It's losing its people. They're fleeing, and violent crime is flourishing. And we can't have that. We can't have that. No city should have that. And it's happening in other cities, but not with the lawfare. The lawfare that they're doing is incredible. So they could have done this in the case of the trial that we just left, one of the many that are going. Every single one of them is run by Biden and his thugs. It's the only way they think they can get elected. And I think so far it's backfiring, because the people of this country understand it. It's backfiring. But they're being run, and they're running all of these different cases. So ridiculous, the cases. Every one of them is ridiculous. You take a look at any one of them, and you say any one of them, it wouldn't make any difference. This is all weaponization of DOJ and FBI. They raided my house in violation of a thing called the Fourth Amendment. Not allowed to do that. They raided my house in Florida, Mar-a-Lago. No notice, no nothing. They raided it. I can't believe it. Nobody can believe it. And we'll see how that all works out in the end. But it's illegal what they're doing. It's criminal what they're doing. And it's never been done before in this country. You can't have an election in the middle of a political season. We just had Super Tuesday, and we had a Tuesday after a Tuesday already, and we had Louisiana the other day, a couple of days ago, and we won in a record number, the highest number ever recorded. But we're in the middle of an election right now, and we're fighting crooked Joe Biden, who's the worst president in the history of our country, by far.
I got hairy legs.
He's let this country go to hell. The borders, millions and millions of people coming in from prisons, from mental institutions. They're terrorists. Many people coming in from prisons and mental institutions. Think of it. And terrorists are coming into our country. And this guy's just letting them come in by the millions. I think we have 15 million people already. People don't say that. I say it. And I'll bet I'm right, too. So we're going through this weaponization of our government to try and knock out somebody's political opponent. And so far, based on the polls, it's not working at all. The people understand it. We have a man who just ruled he'd like the trial to start in 21 days or something. And I don't know how you can have a trial that's going on right in the middle of an election. Not fair. Not fair. It's not fair at all. He knows that, too. He's a Democrat judge. He wants to do that because...
Well, and apparently Trump goes on for another, 10 minutes or so. So I have to hit this break. But first, this part of the program brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health. And there at Montgomery Men's Health, well, guys, two things affect men most as we mature. One is erectile dysfunction. It's a real problem for some. And low testosterone. You know, these things are nothing to deny, put off, be ashamed about. Don't be embarrassed, and don't wait to get it fixed. I know guys hate going to the doctor. I'm a guy, and I don't like going to the doctor, but Montgomery Men's Health was created to take care of guys just like us. And in fact, a lot of you might be walking around, not just those of you who are becoming more mature, let's say, but even young men could be walking around just feeling awful because they have low T, but they don't know it. They don't know they have low T. They don't know that it's the low T causing them a lack of motivation, a lack of energy and drive, including a decrease in their sex drive. They don't know that it's low T, making it seem like they're walking through life in a fog. Well, knowing whether or not you have low T is huge in combating those issues. So the providers at Montgomery Men's Health will conduct a testosterone-focused lab workup plus a consultation for only $99. And at Montgomery Men's Health, they have low T treatments that can truly change lives. Men can experience higher energy, better gains in the gym, brother, better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, a faster metabolism. You usually even notice an increased libido. There ain't nothing wrong with that. And guys, you can actually book the same day that you call. So it's time to feel amazing and hit your goals this year. That number, 440-3663. That's 440-3663. Or go to MontgomeryMen'sHealth.com to book your appointment today.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
This is former Alabama Supreme Court Justice Glenn Murdoch. Alabama is a great place to live and work and raise our families because Alabamians are a good people of faith and traditional values. But a huge gambling bill in Montgomery would change our culture forever. 10 massive casinos bringing more crime to our big cities and small towns, highly addictive cell phone betting, and the state selling the lie of lottery riches to the poor and most vulnerable. With all that's wrong in the world, this is no time to give up on our traditional values in Alabama. Call and ask your senator to be the leader you elected them to be. To stand strong and vote no on gambling and keep Alabama a great place to live and work and raise our families. Thank you.
Call your senator at 334-261-0800, 334-261-0800, 334-261-0800. Paid for by Eagle Forum, Alabama.
I'm with Miss Dot at the Eastbrook Flea Market and Antique Mall. How was your anniversary sale, Dot?
It was just wonderful, and I want to thank everybody that came out. It was a great time. It meant so much to me for it to be 30 years, and y'all just came out and made my day.
Well, spring is almost here. Is Eastbrook ready?
We're beginning to get the patio tables and chairs out. We've got so much there, it's hard to put it into a minute commercial. You just got to come see what we got. You know, we've got 3 floors and 60,000 square feet. So just come see us, because we probably got a sale or two going, and our merchandise is pretty reasonable, I think. We don't charge a commission to the vendors, and so our prices are able to be a little bit less than some other places.
Give us those hours of operation.
Monday through Friday, 10 until 6. Saturday, 9 until 6. And Sunday is 12:30 to 4:30.
That's the Eastbrook Flea Market and Antique Mall, 425 Coliseum Boulevard.
So y'all come on by and see us. We'd love to have you.
Hi there, I'm Madeline Cannon with Alabama Home Mortgage. Getting pre-approved is the first step towards home ownership. People are often scared or nervous about taking that first step, but I'll tell you, it's nothing to be scared of. At Alabama Home Mortgage, we will take the first step and every step along the way with you. Call us at 567-4223. We will gather the information needed to tell you exactly what you qualify for. After a call to Alabama Home Mortgage, you will know what price point to shop for, what down payment is required, if any, and what your monthly mortgage payment will look like. We take all the guessing out of it. Then, when you find the house you want to make your home, you are ready to make an offer. Along with your offer, you will submit your Alabama Home Mortgage Pre-Approval Letter. This shows sellers that you've already taken the steps necessary to ensure that you qualify to purchase their home. Wait no longer. It's time to take that first step together. Call me at 567-4223 or start the process online at myalabamahomemortgage.com.
That's Alabama Home Mortgage because, folks, there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586-36-8, Equal Housing Lender.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
Trustworthy, accurate, immediate. Carrying your voice across the river region. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. I'm your host, Joey Clark. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the program, or if you want to watch and comment online. You can always go to the live stream. Just search Joey Clark Live on YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe. Or on Twitter or the X platform at the Joey Clark. Appreciate the love coming my way on both the platforms. This is just a humble local radio talk show. Nothing big here, but we are trying to hang out on the interwebs more and more. Let's go to the phones and talk to Randall. Hey, Randall, how you doing?
Oh, good, brother. Man, I'm so glad the wings spread out like that and covering more people. Because it's a blessing. Because you just going to be popping up on folks. You know what I mean? Like if they ever search something about, because they interested about politics, if they ever search something, you know what I mean, that your video is going to start going to them because they're going to be putting that family. You know what I mean? So, because they want them to, they want them to keep going toward what they want, you know what I mean, to use them more, so they'll entice them a little bit and put them in a different family group. And so, man, that's a blessing for everybody in America and in the world, really. I mean, seriously. Joe, you don't understand man, I can see you already on a Cracker Barrel rocking chair on the porch. And, man, you fixing to do some crazy
Wait,
stuff.
what does that even mean?
Man, I already see what you gonna do, man. I feel it.
But the Cracker Barrel rocking chair, what the heck does that mean?
Well, I mean, this the rocking chair from Cracker Barrel. I mean, that's the first place I knew that they had rocking chair. They got them on, you know what I mean? I don't know nobody else that sells right off my top of my head. They just always out there.
So I'm just gonna be holding court, sitting on the porch, just chatting with folks and rocking away?
Yeah, you're gonna go back. You're gonna be looking. See, all this stuff ain't going nowhere. You know what I mean? You're gonna be able to come back and say,
true.
look, I told y'all. I told what I tell you. And you know what I mean? Like, your comments will be there forever, people. Y'all understand what this man just done for you. Y'all that loves this. I mean, that loves it. Like I know y'all do, man. You can go there and just be there for your grandkids to see what you thought about what was going on. Like, you could really get on there and leave stuff for your great-grandkids right here on Joy's platform on a topic that's on topic, and that it just ain't something I'm recording that you just leaving somewhere hoping your great-grandkids get it. You can actually leave a message for them right there on Joy's platform. And, I mean, you can actually encode that into the dog's DNA that you can have, reincarnated, and they can find it later, and they can tell them where to go look. I mean, there's all kind of ways we could talk to our people in the future and leave them clues, man.
It's amazing, but you're also kind of scaring me a bit.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. It's like people will know what you said forever. Well, even on that day I was hungover? Really?
But, yeah. I'm going to tell you something. I said it, I don't know how you did it. You never wavered, man. And when you came to it. Like, I drank too many Guinness this week, I was thinking like that. But I mean, it's just all this time you went from your teenage years. I mean, 21ish, whatever you was, 20ish.
Yeah.
And you look 19 in the picture, but you went from there all the way through this talking on radio and saying stuff about and nobody can come back and say, hey, this ain't what you said 2 years ago. This ain't how you was. What changed, Joe? Why you changed? What made you change? You know what I mean? Like, let me know. You know what I mean? Because you ain't changed. I mean, this boy's been standing on business since day one. Man, you got props, man. Your mama, she had a blessing. And I'm gonna tell you, man, like before, I don't know how much time we got, but
you got time.
But on the I forgot what we talking about on Trump, man. I had it wrote down, but Trump is here to show y'all it's a two-sided justice.
Right.
They fixing to do it, and we all say it just like I told you. You know, what I mean, the last conversation we had, I said, what if Trump sits there and says, we've been cheated, y'all. Now what? And you say, I hate to know that's what's gonna happen. Well, it happened, and nobody did nothing. The same thing gonna happen to this. They're gonna hang this man out to dry, and they're gonna show you that they're doing everything wrong. And all we're gonna do is talk about it. We too happy, and we're not ready for that yet.
It could be that Trump is, in fact, the Dark Knight. I think it was that first time he was running. A little kid, he's showing off the helicopter to folks at the Iowa State Fair, and a little kid said, "Oh, can I see it? How did you get a helicopter like that?" And Trump leaned in and said, "I'm Batman." So I think this man is actually the Dark Knight. He's not he'll take all sorts of incoming, all sorts of shots his way as sort of an example of what they will do to somebody if you actually challenge their power. And by they, I mean this corrupt oligarchy that's been running things while claiming we're a democracy now for way too damn long. But, and of course, Trump's, I think, also doing it. Do you think the guy's got an ego that he needs a stroke? A little bit.
I mean, he loves that he knows what the future holds for him, and that he can stand on it and dance on it right now. And there's nothing can't nobody touch that, man. Like literally, can't nobody touch him. He got 11 security companies that's in front of that he pays out of his money since 2015. 11 extra security companies, and like one of them, he pays for that. So if somebody does him, it's just for him to go down there and hang out with Jeff.
Well, he doesn't even. He hasn't even been relying on CIA or American intelligence. He's been relying more on private networks, is what I've learned in the last month or so. But hey, Randall, I got to run. I got to do.
Oh man, let me tell you this part now, because I do got a lot of to tell you why they tell what states they're doing and how you can pin this back, but that's gonna take too long. But you could watch Money for Nothing and Jekyll Island.
Okay.
Like Jekyll Island, Money for Nothing is their side. Jekyll Island is kind of the middle, and then you can't get to our side. But on the gas prices and the stuff, we gotta watch that Red Sea, brother. Come on, Brubaker. Y'all gotta look out there. The Red Sea is causing. They're making them have to go around 2 extra weeks. Some of our stuff traveling,
going around the Horn of Africa instead of actually going to the Suez.
Yes, sir. They can't get through there because of the Houthis, and Iran's backing them, and they killed 3 people but it wasn't from the main 3 countries. They killed 3 people. They've cut 3 data cables. They've done 3 what they do last week? It was 3, man, it's all in 3. I know I shouldn't even throw that out there, but man, they are going to give. I think we're going to go to war with them. Why? Because we over there looking. Everybody's going to be riled up about these prices. They're going to say, "Go get them, get our gas prices back down," and we're going to go in there and we're going to be in war with Iran because we thinking we're going to go take out some Houthis, and it's the Iranians what we're going to be fighting.
Well, and by the way, you just made me think of this. When we first pulled out of Afghanistan, I've always thought, and I started thinking about it again after this terror attack in Moscow, isn't ISIS-K actually Pig Latin for CIA?
I never even looked that up, bro. I don't know if I have it. Ain't on my brain, but you just made me. I'm pissing, man. Come on now. But ISIS was started by them. I mean, and also the Northern Alliance, which is CIA's. Northern Alliance is the CIA's military.
I find I got a clip of Kamala Harris saying there's no evidence the Ukrainians did stuff. And I don't know. I'm not sitting here with any privileged information, but I just don't believe them anymore.
Oh yeah, you can't.
I just don't believe them.
And Brubaker, I don't want you to. I ain't trying to break out, but let's get our money that we send to Ukraine back first before we start jumping on people here. And we need these folks on our team, and we can't be putting another divide over here. Let's start the money going to Ukraine. Then we'll worry about people who get paid to sit at home because that's the government's fault anyway. So let's get you in there where you can handle it from the inside instead of causing more problems on the outside. Because fighting now ain't gonna do no good. What you talking about because we know the government's doing it. So why are we mad at the people for taking it? But man, I want to get back with you about the Boston and the Philadelphia and Richmond, and then New York, Dallas, and San Francisco.
Okay.
Them are you need to keep them in mind because that's how they're going to Federal Reserve and all that. How they're going to do this.
Well,
anyway, bro.
And I just noticed this. Speaking of Dick Brubaker, from M. Hogan commenting on the stream. If you don't vote for Brubaker, then you just don't know Dick. I like that, M. Hogan. I like that a great deal.
I can't wait till we're 80 years old and we look at that.
Thank you,
Later,
Adam. Yeah, freaking me out. I'm seeing my future. And it's like, Grandpa, why were you so... Well, fill in the blank. This part of the program brought to you by Todd Clark and that great team there at River Region Contracting. And at River Region Contracting, they love to educate their customers on their roofs. And, if you have an asphalt or metal roof, manufacturers generally recommend 3 to 5 years, every 3 to 5 years for basic preventative maintenance. Get an inspection done, essentially. But with this weather in Alabama, and also depending on where you live, if you have a lot of, say, trees or other debris falling on that roof, you might as well get it checked yearly. And here's the great news. At River Region Contracting, their inspections and estimates are always free. Doesn't matter if you have a metal or asphalt roof, inspections and estimates are always free. And they're a team of insurance specialists there at River Region Contracting. So if they do find a problem with your roof that your insurance company may pay for, they can walk you through that claims process and make it an easy, even pleasurable experience. Pleasurable. Not usually the word you use when it comes to insurance claims, but that's how good Todd Clark and the team are there at River Region Contracting. So call them today, 356-8635. That's 356-8635. And be sure to tell them that Joey, that fella on the radio, sent you.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
When your tax refund comes, put it on the floor and walk on it. Revitalize the look and feel of your home with new floors from Prattville Carpet. With faster and better service than the big box stores and luxury vinyl planks starting as low as $4.99 per square foot. You'll enjoy that tax refund turned flooring every single day.
Hi, I'm Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. If you're looking for waterproof carpet, hardwood, laminate, vinyl plank, or ceramic tile, call us today for your free measurement.
Dial 285-8117 or visit PrattvilleCarpet.com.
Prattville Carpet, we're more than just carpet.
With the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Rich Thomason. Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun will be stepping down at the end of the year from the top job at the company, which is under pressure from major airlines, wanting to know how Boeing plans to fix problems in the manufacturing of its planes. Board Chair Larry Kellner also tells the board he does not plan to stand for re-election. It appears Nissan still believes the future is electric. The Japanese automaker plans to expand its vehicle lineup, develop more powerful batteries, and cut the cost of production. The company's chief executive describes the plan as the ARC pathway to greater sales by 2030. United Airlines stumbled 2.3% in pre-market on news that federal regulators will increase their oversight of the Chicago-based carrier. Later this week, the government releases its consumer spending report, which includes a measure of inflation closely watched by the Fed. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Rich Thomason.
Weather is brought to you by the Johnny Adams Law Firm.
Weather can change quickly here in Alabama. Stay on top of the latest weather developments with the Rich Thomas Weather Network. Brought to you by the Johnny Adams Law Firm.
Hi, everybody. Weather changes on the way as the next storm system approaches. Today will be dry, though, and quite breezy, mostly cloudy with a high temperature in the lower 70s. Wind advisory tonight, winds gusting as high as 35 miles per hour. Dry through the evening hours, but scattered showers move in the overnight hours, low 62. Showers and thunderstorms tomorrow, locally heavy downpours. Tuesday's high 71. Wednesday's high 73, upper 60s Thursday, mostly sunny, and warmer by the weekend. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
John Bobo with Capital Tractor. Spring is time for clearing and cleaning. Time to clean out your shed too. Let go of old, outdated equipment holding you back and visit Capital Tractor to see your property's full potential. Powering Alabama, Capital Tractor, Montgomery, Brundage, and Greenville.
Hello, I'm Johnny Sullivan from Sinclair's Restaurant. We're almost 27 years, and our business is as good as ever, and I give credit to Blue Water Broadcasting for keeping us on the air and letting people know what we do. Advertising with them has been a huge help to our business. I've seen a uptick from day one. If you need to grow your business, I highly recommend you giving them a call.
Now you can add the power of digital advertising to the #1 reach of radio. Let Blue Water's 20 years of local advertising and marketing success show you how. Grow your business with a complete suite of digital solutions, combined with the reach of the most listened to radio group in the river region. Call us or go to BlueWaterBroadcasting.com to find out how we can increase your return on investment. Blue Water Broadcasting, local folks helping local business.
Who's there? It's Bill, the electrician, here to make your home burglar-proof. Oh, thank goodness. I thought maybe you were an intruder. No, ma'am. I'm a burglar's worst nightmare.
If your house doesn't have sufficient outdoor lighting, it's a prime target for intruders. That's why you should call Crosby Electric today.
How's it going, Bill? Just fine, ma'am. See, when your intruder trips this wire, it grabs him by the foot and hangs him upside down. Really?
The experts at Crosby Electric will install lighting that not only discourages intruders, but also makes it safer for you and your guests to navigate around steps, pools, and other tripping hazards.
Bill, is that contraption safe? Oh, sure. It's disarmed now, but... Bill! Like I said, I'm a burglar's worst nightmare. I see. You mind cutting me down, ma'am?
Avoid your worst nightmare. Call the outdoor lighting experts at Crosby Electric or visit crosbyelectric.com.
In Alabama, more than 200,000 of our friends and neighbors are living without health coverage. Often folks can't stay healthy enough to keep their jobs. We need to fix this. Contact Governor Kay Ivey and let her know. Now is the time to close the coverage gap and cover Alabama.
Paid for by the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network.
All the headlines the mainstream media won't touch. Your News Talk station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. I'm your host, Joey Clark. Again, 334-272-9228 if you want to hop in on the program. Let's see who this is on line 3. You're on there. Who's this? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're on there. Who's this?
My name's Charles.
Hey, Charles. How you doing?
Hey, man, I live in Ohio, and I don't know who the fuck keeps telling Donald Trump to run for president.
Yeah, hey, before you keep going, Charles, before you keep going, no, don't be cursing. Keep going.
Let's be serious. He's already denounced in the United States. His son's a fag. And they
all right. You can't be saying stuff like that on my airwaves. Sorry, sir. If you don't like Donald Trump, you can call in and say whatever you damn well like, but just keep it within the boundaries here. Again, 272-9228 if you want to get in on the program. I was just sent this, that the Mexican president, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, AMLO for short, issued a lengthy series of demands detailing what the U.S. must offer in exchange for Mexico's help in stemming the flow of migrants to the U.S.-Mexico border. Lopez Obrador's demands came at a Friday press conference, which came roughly a week after he met with Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and the Secretary of State Tony Blinken in Mexico City in late December. The U.S. officials requested that Mexico boost its assistance in stopping illegal migration. Well, Lopez Obrador responded by demanding the U.S. give $20 billion to Latin America and Caribbean countries, grant work visas to 10 million Hispanics who have worked in the U.S. for at least 10 years, end sanctions against Venezuela, and halt the blockade of Cuba. The negotiations come at a critical time for President Biden, whose polling numbers on illegal immigration have been low throughout his presidency. The U.S. also suffered a surge of migrants at the border this fall, with roughly 240,000 monthly migrant encounters at the border in late 2023. Senior Biden administration officials responded to those demands in a statement to NBC News, saying that Lopez Obrador has a very ambitious agenda For some of these things, we would need Congress to act. We share the vision that we need to lift up the region. Hey, how about you shove it, AMLO? You don't even run and control your own country. And why should we lift sanctions off Venezuela? Why should we play ball with those damn dirty commies anyhow? Sorry, I'm just in a mood. The only just use of government is to protect people from violence. But there are so many well-meaning, compassionate, socialist people who now think, no, government violence must be used to make things fair. And when you actually take that idea seriously, that government violence must be used for the good, however the leaders define it, of mankind, you usually end up destroying mankind, leaving mankind in subjugation and poverty while calling it a service. Yeah, you can make everybody equally miserable. Well, actually, everybody won't be equal, because every attempt to create equal outcomes, to use the force and fraud, the violence of government in order to make things fair, doesn't end up with equality. You end up with a very poor underclass who is deathly dependent on these systems of control, while the pigs live high on the hog and constantly enforce arbitrary rules. There will always be somebody on top. There will always be an elite. I would just like an elite that's actually honest. Not one that says we're all equal, but yeah, some of us are more equal. I'd take El Salvador over Venezuela. I'd definitely take Argentina in the way Javier Milei is going with Argentina. It's a beautiful thing. But for the president of Mexico to sit there and make demands for allowing his country to be a thoroughfare of death and depravity, no, sir. You either play ball or you ain't going to be a country anymore. We're tired of pretending like you run your country. And honestly, I think there has been a quiet war going on at the southern border and in Latin America for way too long. And just like America's other wars, they'll be prolonged and prolonged and prolonged, with no clear resolution and no clear victor. Thank you to the managers in Washington, D.C. You certainly know how to manage everything to crap. Before we hit this top of the hour break, this part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services and their Pest Pro Services. Ashley and that wonderful team that's growing by the day. It really has been amazing to watch Pest Pro grow over the last 3 to 4 years and to see Ashley get the recognition that she deserves. She doesn't do it for the recognition. I know that for a fact. She does it to, serve her fellow community members, but also, make some money and do a great business for herself and those she loves. And she's always giving back from that wonderful business she's created. So at Pest Pro Services, spring has sprung here in Alabama. So why not get Pest Pro there to take care of those mosquitoes that are coming back with a vengeance, especially if you're near water? Get your yard treated for mosquitoes. Termites, which love a little more heat and moisture. It's better to get termite treatment done before there's damage. It's a lot less expensive. Homeowners insurance doesn't cover treatment or damage, so you might as well get the treatment done before you have a big problem. And then they're at Pest Pro Services. They can help you with general, pest control needs. In fact, I would suggest make them your everyday pest control company when you call them at 265-9990. That's 265-9990. Or you can always go to ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. When you want to know, call a pro. Pest Pro Services. And be sure to tell Ashley and that great team that you heard about him here on News and Views in the afternoon. Now, I think that was the first call, folks, that potty mouth that we've gotten from the internet, which I'm not surprised. He didn't seem to know the rules of the road. But I appreciate it. Anyway, sir, from Ohio, I appreciate it all the same. Coming up, we have Brylan Hollyhand, a young man, 17 years young, only 17 years old. He has a new book coming out. It is called One Generation Away: Why Now is the Time to Restore American Freedom. I believe Brylan is the co-chair of the RNC Youth Advisory Council. It was rumored that he helped craft some of Senator Britt's speech for the State of the Union, and generally I find, like most folks do, this kid quite impressive, and it's rare that I get to call somebody else a kid. So I look forward to talking to Brylan Hollyhand after this top-of-the-hour break.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. It has been a wild ride so far today for the nation's 45th president. A New York court has agreed to hold off collection of Donald Trump's $454 million civil fraud judgment if he puts up $175 million bond within 10 days. Mr. Trump says he is satisfied with that ruling. And a New York judge presiding over Mr. Trump's hush money case, scolding the former president's lawyers as he has rescheduled a date for the trial of April 15th. UN Security Council has demanded a ceasefire in Gaza. The United States abstained, and they also, in that resolution, demanded the release of all hostages. And North Korea says Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has offered to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. No date has been set. This is SRN News.
Biden has started tracking Christians like cattle. Yes, you heard it right. He pressured banks to tag transactions for certain keywords. One of them is Holy Bible. That's a horrifying and creepy attack on our religious freedoms. It's made possible by a digital financial system that makes you a sitting duck. But you do have other options. I recommend a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. I'm Lance Wallnow, a news analyst, a best-selling author, and evangelical leader to people who cherish their financial independence. A precious metals IRA can help you avoid the scrutiny of Biden's anti-Christian bureaucracy while also preserving your retirement savings. To find out more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word faith to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and see how a gold IRA can help you. Text faith to 989898. There are no strings attached. So text faith to the number 989898 right now and take action to protect your own prosperity.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
Hi, everybody. Weather changes on the way as the next storm system approaches. Today will be dry, though, and quite breezy, mostly cloudy with a high temperature in the lower 70s. Wind advisory tonight, winds gusting as high as 35 miles per hour. Dry through the evening hours, but scattered showers move in the overnight hours, low 62. Showers and thunderstorms tomorrow, locally heavy downpours. Tuesday's high 71. Wednesday's high 73. Upper 60s Thursday, mostly sunny, and warmer by the weekend. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
At CB&S Bank, we've been meeting the needs of our customers since 1906. Need help setting up new business goals? Our line of commercial loans can help you achieve them. Go to cbsbank.com to find a location near you. All loans subject to credit approval, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Quick programming note. I was actually getting my wires crossed. Brylan Hollyhand will be joining us, but it will be at, 1:30. Here at 1:30 our time, 1:30 Central Time. And do look forward to talking to Brylan. And who's this gay guy? R Bader 123 sounding good today, Joey. Lots better without that Eddie loser. Although he is better looking. Laugh emoji. Seems pretty lame, man. We'll be right back.
The Blue Water Broadcasting News Center. These are today's top stories. A small plane owned by Auburn University crashed Sunday afternoon in Opelika. The plane crashed during a training flight about 2,000 feet from the runway shortly after takeoff from Auburn Regional Airport. The one person aboard the aircraft was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The Crimson Tide is the only one of 4 teams from the state of Alabama to survive the weekend's NCAA basketball tournament. Alabama defeated Grand Canyon University 72-61 Sunday night to advance to the Sweet 16. Auburn, UAB, and Samford were all defeated in first-round action Thursday and Friday. The woman convicted of setting the fire inside the historic First Baptist Church in downtown Montgomery has been sentenced. Xiaoquan Yan received a sentence of 8.5 years after being convicted of arson last year. Yan is an illegal immigrant from China. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
Hey, this is Randy and Tammy Burkhalter at Prattville Farm Center.
Hey, Randy, tell me about those hot chicks I've been hearing about.
Now, Tammy, I don't know any since we got married.
No, Randy, the baby chick.
Oh, yeah, we're getting Rhode Island Reds, Americanas, Buff Orpingtons, and about 6 other different varieties.
Plus ducks, turkeys, geese, and guineas.
Hey, and raising chickens is a great family project.
And you get to look forward to fresh eggs.
Visit Prattville Farm Center at 1154 South Memorial Drive and pick up your hot chicks today.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
After damning politicians uphill and down dale for many years as rogues, vagabonds, frauds, and scoundrels, I sometimes suspected, like everyone else, I often expect too much of them.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Again, Brylan Hollyhand will be joining us at 1:30 our time, 1:30 Central Time. Look forward to that discussion with Brylan. Now, I can admit when I'm wrong. Not all the livelong day that we'll be here forever, but occasionally I judge somebody wrong. Now, I'm allowed to go back and forth. I'm allowed to go back and forth on my opinion of somebody. So for the longest time, I have not had a very high opinion of Rubio. That's right, Marco Rubio. I haven't liked him one bit. But I think my mind is starting to slowly change. Because, well, Rubio put on some great political theater when he sat down with Jonathan Karl this week, ABC News. Do people still watch this crap? People still actually tune in to Sunday talk shows? Because I don't. I used to. I'll admit I used to. When I was a good little boy, it's like, here, let's see what the important people in the news are talking about. Let's see what the tastemakers are saying. Now I think it's, well, highly contrived, overly corporate, controlled theater. But that said, just like you can appreciate, the penultimate match at last year's WrestleMania, brother, you can also appreciate a good, even if it's fake, political performance by a former man I thought to be my arch nemesis, Rubio. So take it away, Marco Rubio. You tell Jonathan Karl what's what.
I want to turn to politics. There was some reporting this week that you are possibly under consideration to be Donald Trump's running mate. I don't put a lot of stock in this reporting right now, or we're early. But you said it would be an honor to be offered a spot on his ticket. Really?
Yeah, I think anyone who's offered the opportunity to serve this country as vice president should be honored by the opportunity to do it if you're in public service. I'm in the Senate because I want to serve the country. Being vice president is an important way to serve the country. But I've also been clear, I've never talked to Donald Trump. I've never talked to anybody on his team or family or inner circle about vice president. That's a decision he's going to make. He has plenty of really good people to pick from.
I mean, the reason why I ask is, look what happened to the last guy. A mob stormed the Capitol, literally calling to hang Mike Pence.
The whole mob?
Trump defended those chants of hang Mike Pence.
I will tell you this, that when Donald Trump was president of the United States, this country was safer, it was more prosperous. We had relations, for example, in a part of the world that I care about called the Western Hemisphere that were very strong. We had a lot of good things done there. I think the country and the world was a better place when he was president. And I would love to see him return to the White House in comparison to the guy who's there now, Joe Biden, who's been a disaster economically. Look at the world. Every single day we wake up to a new crisis, to a new conflict. Everything has gone on fire since the time Joe Biden took over. Afghanistan's gone down. Ukraine has been invaded. Now the Philippines and the Chinese are on the verge of something bad happening every single day, not to mention the threats to Taiwan. We have this blow up in Haiti going on in our very own hemisphere. We wake up every single day, terrorist attacks, 9 million people across the border.
I mean,
that's what matters
you're not
to me.
suggesting that's all happening because of Biden.
Absolutely, I am. Absolutely, I'm suggesting it happening because of Biden. He's president, and his weakness and his...
It's because of Biden that Russia invaded Ukraine?
Absolutely.
It's because of Biden that Haiti... Okay,
Absolutely. I mean, Putin is sitting there saying, these guys can't even stand up to the Taliban, and they have to fly people hanging off the wings of these airplanes. Now's the time to go.
Trump's the one saying that suggesting that there should be a deal that effectively gives Putin what he wants in Ukraine. But can we take a quick...
But that's not true. What he has said is he wants the conflict to end, which is striking to me that people... Why wouldn't people want peace? What I've said is there is going to be a negotiated... So Russia's not going to take all of Ukraine. And Ukraine's not going to push Russia back to where it was in 2014. I want Ukraine to have the upper hand in any negotiation.
Wow. Jonathan Karl was trying there. He was trying dearly indeed. But yeah, it's amazing. When you look at the reaction to Trump, and it's only going to get worse. Like, we're still several months out. We're not even close to the conventions just yet. It's only going to get worse. So good on Rubio. I guess I'll give him a pass for today. He did a good job there. I can admit it. Still don't quite trust him. A little too much of a hawk for me. But good job, Marco. Little Marco. Good job. Now, the whole world, other than maybe the United States, is really upset with Israel. And in fact, the UN the UN Security Council has passed a demand for a Gaza ceasefire. The U.S. could have vetoed it. They didn't. The U.S. abstains as the UN Security Council passes demand for Gaza ceasefire. Wow. So apparently Biden and Blinken have blundered their way into the hands of Russia and China. First, Biden and Blinken tried to pressure Israel's unity government to forego an assault on Hamas's remaining 4 brigades in Rafah by proposing a United Nations Security Council resolution for a ceasefire. That language required the quote-unquote unconditional release of all hostages by Hamas as well. Russia and China vetoed that resolution and replaced it with a conditionless demand for a ceasefire, clearly favoring Hamas and its patrons, in particular Iran. And after initially threatening a veto, Biden and Blinken instead abstained. Again, the United Nations Security Council on Monday demanded a ceasefire in Gaza during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, its first demand to halt fighting. The United States abstained on the resolution, which also demanded the release of all hostages taken captive during Hamas's October 7th surprise attack in southern Israel. But the measure does not link that demand to the ceasefire during Ramadan, which ends April the 9th. The vote comes after Russia and China vetoed a U.S.-sponsored resolution Friday that would have supported an immediate and sustained ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict. Now, make no mistake, folks, the message sent by the UN Security Council, it just voted to vindicate terrorism, human shield strategies, and hostages in a breathtaking contradiction to the norms of conflict. Well, but you use what you can, right? I think the Biden administration has managed to do the absolute worst when it comes to Israel in this fight between Israel and Hamas, the fight there in Gaza. It'd be one thing if you just clearly picked a side. And there are a lot of people that'll debate you on which side is right. They'll go back in history. They'll talk about each little attempt at peace deals. And they'll say, well, this clearly is the side you need to back. Okay. But it'd be one thing if you actually picked the damn side. But what this administration and what many past administrations in the United States have done is they play both sides. and they play both sides to the effect that nothing, again, is ever resolved. The fighting might stop, but everybody just rearms. All the propaganda gets spun up. The religious crazies continue to bitch and moan over the Temple Mount. It's remarkable. And we're right back to the fighting, and then, let's play both sides again. How many people have to die under U.S. diplomacy before we realize we're not really good at this? In my humble opinion, you either pick a side, and the practical choice would be to back the strong horse, but you either pick a side, or you stay the hell out of it. Now, my instincts say we need to stay the hell out of a lot of what's going on around the globe. There may be a few areas where there are crucial U.S. interests. Maybe. Though we have inflated, just like our currency, we've inflated the meaning of crucial U.S. interest. National security interest. But we're running out of money, folks. We're not only running out of money, we also are sucking as we run out of money. We're running out of money and we're getting people killed unnecessarily while inflaming ill will against the United States and our friends in the process. Where's the effectiveness? Where are the so-called adults in the room? Because the more I watch these adults at the State Department or the decision makers, the political decision makers from the intelligence and Pentagon, and I'm not talking about your low-level analysts or your folks actually out there in the field drawing up plans. I mean the political decision makers. The decisions they constantly make, again, are based on money we don't have in order to fail at our objectives, or even worse, not really having clear objectives will just muddle through. Muddle through. It's an absolute crying shame. And to see us doing this again with this current war in Israel, well, I'm not surprised. But it isn't fun to watch. We are out of money. When will Washington, D.C. realize that? Now, what they'll do in Washington, D.C. is they'll do the same exact thing the big banks they bailed out did in 2008. Well, the mortgage market will never collapse. Who would short mortgages? But as soon as the mortgage market does collapse, they take all these little securities that they had sold to folks who they thought were morons, shorting the housing market. Mortgages aren't going to collapse. Mortgage-backed securities are one of the best thing going, man. Who would ever short something like that? And as soon as the big banks realized they were wrong, that these folks they sold those products to were not idiots, they had a lot of foresight. Think of, say, Michael Berry, for instance. The banks didn't immediately pay up. They were able to shift their books around to where they're now the ones making out pretty after creating the damn problem in the first place. That's exactly what DC is going to do. They're going to milk this country, this world. They're going to milk their world reserve status, their status at the top of the totem pole until they can't. And then they'll turn around like they're good little saints and soldiers, Eagle Scouts all, that, well, I mean, who could have seen this coming? All of us, everybody with eyes could see it coming, including you. You were just on the take. You were just high on the gravy train. We're out of money. And being out of money means we need to tighten our belts. We need to get our house in order. And you better believe a beautiful thing might be is if you have less money, you might actually be less wasteful. If you have less money, you might actually realize, well, there's only so much to go around. Maybe we spend things that the military actually needs. Maybe we only get involved in parts of the world when we absolutely need to as a last resort. But this idea that making the world safe for democracy means we have to essentially be, why does it look so much like world domination? We're the dictatress of the world. Doesn't have to be this way. Be one thing if we were out of money and the outcomes were good, but we're out of money and the outcomes suck. So maybe actually doing with less will make us actually prioritize what our goals and objectives are. Because right now I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it one bit. I'm seeing a corrupt ruling elite that will ride this thing to the bottom and then blame everybody else when they should be the ones looking in the mirror. But here's what I mean by we're out of money. This is Peter St. Onge. The name of this video is Debt Interest. Interest on the debt is 2/3 of income taxes. So all the taxes they take from you, all the income taxes they take from you, it only pays essentially debt interest. How can you have a robust military? How can you have a robust economy? How can you have an actual free nation that doesn't treat the sword of government like it's a gift from God to make things fair, but actually treat the sword of government as to protect people, not manipulate and exploit them? How can you have any of this when your economy and your wealth is going up in smoke? Wealth this generation running things did not build, did not create. Well, they inherited. Now we're squandering. Debt interest is 2/3 of income taxes. Take it away, Peter.
The federal spending Borg is eating the country alive, crapping out wars and welfare for migrants and leaving the people they serve to fight over the crumbs. Fresh numbers came out last week that the federal government spent roughly twice what it took in tax revenue last month, as the federal deficit hit the second highest ever, second only to the COVID lockdowns. Meanwhile, separate data reports that interest costs on federal debt alone are consuming fully 2/3 of the income taxes you pay. So as you tally up the tens of thousands in taxes you're paying next month, reflect on the sense of achievement that 2/3 of that is going to Wall Street and Chinese investors. In short, we are at the loot the treasury stage of the fall of empire, which always happens with paper money. You could argue the surprise is that it's taken this long. So first, the numbers. The U.S. Treasury reported that last month it collected $271 billion, yet it spent $567 billion, more than double. About $224 of the spending was Social Security, Medicare, and veterans benefits. The other $343 was wars, welfare, and interest on the debt. In other words, what's bankrupting us is the welfare-warfare complex.
Correct.
In fact, federal tax receipts adjusted for inflation have been down since 2021. This is very odd considering the Bidenomics miracle. Normally, a rising economy pays more taxes, so it suggests there is a lot of hidden distress that government statisticians are somehow missing. So taxes are down, yet spending has soared 50% since COVID. To illustrate, pre-COVID, federal spending was running under $400 billion per month. Since COVID, it's been closer to $600. This brought the February deficit alone to nearly $300 billion, which is up 13% on last year's grotesque number, and it puts us on track for $2 trillion of deficit this year. For perspective, in 2015, which was Obama's last year, the annual deficit was about $400 billion. Now, it's $300 billion in a month.
Wow.
Of course, that deficit is what's driving skyrocketing federal debt, which is up $1 trillion in just the past 100 days. That comes to an annual rate of $3.5 trillion, which is also known as $28,000 per household in America. So think of it like putting $2,300 on the credit card every month and never, ever paying it off. And that brings us to the interest payments. So last month, Treasury collected $120 billion from individual income taxes and spent fully $76 of that on debt interest.
Wow.
As my colleague E.J. Antoni pointed out, that's not $76 billion for roads, schools, Social Security. It's just to service old debt. It's the monthly interest on the credit card while they pile up fresh trillions. This is obviously unsustainable, and it's getting worse as the fresh debt piles up the interest costs, and next recession, it could balloon past the point of no return. We're not far from the day when all taxes are going to old debt, with all new spending being effectively printed, racking up yet more trillions as the months tick by. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. Washington has entered the Ponzi financial stage. Of course, they could stop it overnight by slashing spending, but they won't. The 2008 crisis and COVID opened the floodgates, growing the federal beast to cancerous proportions. How will it end? How it always ends. Inflation, mass defaults, and sovereign debt crises. The only question is when. A new episode of the Weekly Roundup podcast just went up, covering Japan's stagflation, American renters giving up inflationists in Congress, and the ongoing bloodbath in commercial real estate.
Again, that's Peter St. Onge. Always appreciate his insights. And, well, he and his friends are absolutely right on this. It's absolutely miserable what we're watching our government and ruling elite do. But doesn't mean, despite my ranting and raving, that one needs to give up hope, especially when you see what the next generation is doing. In a second, we'll hit a break, and I'll be going to Brylan Hollihan. He's coming out with a brand new book that I think many of you in the listening audience might enjoy. Look forward to our conversation. For this break, this part of the program brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage. And there at Alabama Home Mortgage, Kim Williams and her team are ready to help you, whether you're looking to buy a home. It could be your very first time buyer, very first time. Or it could be you've done this before, but you're now looking for a great local lender to help you out. And that's what they do there at Alabama Home Mortgage. Kim and Madeline will get to know you. They'll get to understand what's your goal in owning a home, or maybe you're not buying at all. Maybe you're looking to refinance that current mortgage. You know, credit card debt isn't getting any cheaper. It's not just the government with huge interest payments. What APR is now on average like 29%. Ooh, so if you're stuck making minimal payments, if that, why not? If you have equity built up in your home, call up Alabama Home Mortgage today to get a great refi deal, especially if you're a veteran. They know the latest in the VA home loan programs and is by far the best game in town. Veterans, take advantage of these benefits you earn through your service through Alabama Home Mortgage. That number, 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies like Kim and Madeline. Prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender. We'll be right back with Brylan Hollihan.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man. Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Ernest. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby liked it.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values.
This is your Black Health 365 moment. April is National Stress Awareness Month, a time to learn more about the negative impact of stress. There is no single definition for stress, but the most common explanation is physical, mental, or emotional strain or tension. Long-term stress can have harmful impacts on physical and mental health. Talk to a professional so that you can familiarize yourself with ways to manage your stress. This has been your Black Health 365 moment, because a healthy lifestyle is a daily choice.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
The Ridge Thomas Weather Network is brought to you by Alabama's personal injury attorney, me, Johnny Adams of the Johnny Adams Law Firm. Stay weather alert, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Weather changes on the way as the next storm system approaches. Today will be dry, though, and quite breezy, mostly cloudy with a high temperature in the lower 70s. Wind advisory tonight, winds gusting as high as 35 miles per hour. Dry through the evening hours, but scattered showers move in the overnight hours, low 62. Showers and thunderstorms tomorrow, locally heavy downpours. Tuesday's high 71. Wednesday's high 73. Upper 60s Thursday, mostly sunny, and warmer by the weekend. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
This spring, mow with the flow with a Kubota zero-turn mower. John Bobo with Capital Tractor. Kubota Z232 puts power where you need it, when you need it. Save now with our spring specials. Powering Alabama, Capital Tractor, Montgomery, Brundage, and Greenville.
We get Montgomery talking 24 hours a day. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. I'm Joey Clark, and now, as promised, we have on the phone a very talented young man, Brylan Hollyhan. Brylan, how you doing this afternoon?
Joey, happy Monday. I appreciate you having me on.
Happy Monday, my favorite day of the week. I watched some of the interviews you've been doing, talking up this book. And again, folks, the book is One Generation Away, Why Now is the Time to Restore American Freedom. You can go to BrylanHollyhan.com to pre-order there, and I'm sure it will be available all over the place. But I was watching some of the interviews, and some of these like middle-aged anchors, they're gushing over, you're 17. And I got to tell you, man, just turning 35, enjoy it while it lasts. Eventually, your back's going to start to hurt. You're going to smell bad than you normally do. And it's just enjoy the praise. But it is amazing because you started the Truth Gazette when you were 11?
Yes, sir. I was 11, started the Truth Gazette after the 2016 election. And really, this book isn't about my age. It's just about why our generation needs to act up now. So that, everybody keeps gushing over the age factor, but a 30-year-old could have written the same book. So,
well, and so which generation are you speaking to here with this book?
Well, that's the important thing here. I shared this with somebody. I just did a New York media tour, and I was like, well, I got to come back to Alabama. This is where I'm born and raised in Tuscaloosa, and I couldn't do Alabama media without calling into the Great Joey Clark Show. So I'm happy to be here and appreciate you giving us some time. This book is for my peers who are concerned if there's going to be a free America left for us to grow up in, but it's also for parents out there who want to start that process of reclaiming their children from the indoctrination that we're all facing today. And also it's for grandparents who want to talk to their grandkids or children about conservatism that don't really know how. This book's for everybody. It's available right now at brylanbook.com. That's BRILYN book.com, or available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you want to. You can pre-order it now, and it comes out on July 9th.
Now, there's, I think, a difference now with the younger generation. And the guy I think who exemplifies it is Vivek Ramaswamy. In full disclosure, that's the guy who I voted for in the primary. Even though he had dropped out, I'm like, the man earned my vote. But it seems like Trump sort of broke the older mold of how the GOP was running, and it's created a space for somebody like Vivek. And to me, it seems like our generation has a different sense of what's at stake and what's going on in Washington than maybe some of you did come up during the Reagan Revolution, which I think you're alluding to there with the title. You think I'm onto something with this?
You're definitely onto something. And you actually brought up something you don't even know about, but the last time I called into this program I was on the way to when President Trump was coming to speak in Montgomery. And that's when he was doing, we're doing your live show around that. That night, I had a conversation with him backstage, and I share the conversation in the book about he was asking, kind of how to connect with young people. And so we talked about that, and I said, this is when, Trump and Vivek were both still running. This was August of last year. And I said, Mr. President, you need to look at what Vivek Ramaswamy is doing. He's on social media. He's working with influencers. He's getting his message directly to my generation. He's got such a hard name to say, yet his name ID is so high because he's connected with my generation where we are, and that's through social media. 2 weeks after that conversation, President Trump rejoined Instagram. He had been on Truth Social. He'd still been posting. Trump never leaves social media. He just went to his own app. But my generation's not really on Truth Social, so they got to see him more on Instagram, and you're exactly right. Vivek did an incredible job with that, and now that he's out of the race, I hope he's kind of advising Trump on how to connect with us better.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I really appreciated to him is he almost seemed to have a wrecking ball approach to politics. One thing that, that the little C conservative philosophy, it's kind of like G.K. Chesterton's fence or wall, that don't tear something down until you know the purpose of it in the first place. Be careful, order can go away pretty quickly. But it seems like somebody like Vivek and others around in our age cohort are realizing, no, a wrecking ball is in order. We understand why the wall was put up, and it's pretty decrepit now, and we need to rebuild a new one.
No, you're absolutely right, 100% right. Ronald Reagan came in and said, look, big government is not your friend. We need to bring small government back to America, and that's what he did. That's what President Trump also did when he was in there. Look, Joey, all we hear today is people talking about things that are wrong in America. And look, I agree. There are countless things wrong in modern-day America, but we've accidentally, in the process of that, crossed the line of thinking that there's something wrong with America. There's nothing wrong with America. We forgot the founding principles of our country were life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, which I talk about extensively in this book. We lost hope in the idea that is America, and we have to bring that back. And we bring that back by putting the people in charge, giving the people freedom, and making this government as small as possible.
Yeah, and what's the reception when you talk to folks around your age? Because you're still, in high school?
Sure, yeah, I'm a junior in high school.
So what's the reception when you try to talk politics to a lot of young folks? Because I'd imagine there is some good reception, but I also imagine you probably get a lot of, kids being teenagers, so to speak.
Sure. So 7 years ago, I've been doing this since I was 11. I've turned 18 this summer. And when I started 7 years ago, the reception with Gen Z was very dismal. They didn't want to talk about it. They were, we'll leave that to adults. We'll leave that to our grandparents. They'll handle it. And by the time we're there, it'll all be good. I think my generation's starting to wake up and say, hey, they're not handling it, and it's not all going to be good. So it's up to us to do something. And the big thing when, we're in the middle of a college speaking tour right now of going to different campuses, when we talk to young people who will be first-time voters like myself this November, they realize that it's up to them. They realize that their voice matters and that they need to make sure that they go to the polls. And when I go speak to them, my message to them is simple. Even if you don't have hope in America, even if you don't think that there's going to be a free America for us to grow up in, I still do. Why? Because my hope's in Jesus, not in those bureaucrats that are running the country today. And as long as we protect the freedom in this great nation, God will always be at the heart of this country. And that's a real underlining theme of the book. My publisher didn't love it when we first had the conversations about it, but the book's broken down into 3 sections. I'm going to give you a little exclusive here. And the second section of the book is called the modern day F words. And the 3 chapters there are faith, family, and freedom. And they were like, oh, that's kind of, can you say that? Can you say modern day F words? And I said, yes, because faith, family, and freedom are all taboo today. They're all under attack. They are kind of these things you can't talk about. It's crazy to talk about faith, family, and freedom. And that's something that's absolutely under attack, and my generation realizes we want that back. We want to talk about faith, family, and freedom in our schools, and we hope we can have that back soon.
And I was going to go to that what is the core set of values? Already seem to answer it a bit. But when you talk about faith, on this show, and we had a great discussion a little bit on Friday, I keep coming back to the idea that the actual question of our times isn't explicitly political. I think it's, what does it mean to be a Christian? Because, we've seen in the news some schisms with different denominations. But I would say even the folks who consider themselves secular or none of the above, non-affiliated with any organized faith, that you still should be answering the question, what does it mean to be a Christian? So when you talk about faith in the book, where are you coming from, and how would you contribute to that conversation, that question?
Well, Joey, it's almost like my team has sent you an advanced copy, and if they haven't, we're definitely going to have to now, because you got 3 points correctly right out of the book. The first message of my faith chapter is defining what a Christian is, defining that it is a relationship, not a religion, and that relationship should, for too long, Christians have said, oh, politics is too dirty. We're going to stay out of that. We're going to leave it to other people. But when you leave it to other people, you leave it to the bureaucrats. You leave it to people that are trying to get faith out of politics. So absolutely, Christians should be at the forefront of politics for protecting our values, protecting our rights, and making sure that is the forefront of America. Our founding fathers founded this nation as a Christian nation, and that's this whole idea here. I know that's taboo and controversial to say today, but it's facts. It's history. And that's something that we need to be reminded of. So you're exactly right. There's an entire chapter 8.
Well, I guess I don't have an advanced copy, but I guess I'm just anticipating some of this.
You one.
I would love it. Please send it my way. And last week I was talking about, do you know the story of old, like 81-year-old Ben Franklin at the Constitutional Convention, where he essentially, after they're at an impasse, that it's about to break down about proportionment between big states, small states in the Senate and the House. And Franklin gets up and shocks everybody because the man kind of had a crazy life, maybe lived a little fast, and was famed as a deist in some circles. But he gets up and he says, we should remember that it was providence, it was God who guided us through the revolution. If we've forgotten our powerful friend, and then goes on to say, I believe, because I've lived a long time, and the longer I live, that God does intervene in the affairs of men. Doesn't sound much like a deist, and the room was shocked. So I think there's something, too, when you say we're a Christian nation, that this has always guided our forefathers and forebears, even the ones that might be put in the secular column, honestly. It's a remarkable thing the more I read American history.
Yes. And this wasn't a church of the government where our founding fathers forced us, like England or another nation they might have come from, to actually, everybody in this nation say is a Christian. Everybody has to go to church on Sundays. We would love you to encourage that, but nobody's forcing that upon you. The great thing about America is the freedom. And that's the whole, obviously the narrative of this book. Well, now is the time to restore American freedom. Really, the subtitle should be why yesterday was the time to restore American freedom, because we're a few years behind on that one. But my favorite story, again, from that Constitutional Convention, there was a lot of speculation on, okay, this is a new country. They just won this Revolutionary War against the superpower of the world. And you can tell my history coming out right now, but they were all, all the reporters were standing outside the convention and asking what's going to happen. And when the founding fathers walked out, they turned to them and said, what kind of government did you form? And he turned to them and said, a republic, if you can keep it. Joey, we're at that point where we will not have the freedom of a republic, the freedom of a country ran by the people, for the people, if we just sit on our hands too much longer. And it takes a revival of not only Christians, but young people and everybody in this country to say, hey, something's wrong here. We need to fix it before it's too late.
Again, folks, we're talking to Brylan Hollyhand, and the website again is brylanbook.com.
Yes, sir. BRILYN book.com.
Now, I think I saw that you helped in part write Senator Katie Britt's State of the Union response. Which part was it? The good part?
So listen, there's obviously a lot of criticism against my good friend Senator Britt. I helped a little bit with the conversation. We spoke twice on the phone before she gave the speech, and then obviously we spoke a few times afterwards. And in conversations with her and her team and her incredible husband Wesley, the message I kept encouraging was just make sure that this touches Gen Z. Obviously, I think she did an incredible job, first of all, with the delivery and the performance, and I think the kitchen worked really well trying to connect with your suburban men and women that we're trying to get to. But I knew that was going to be the focus, but I also wanted to make sure there was a focus of Gen Z, to make sure that she said relevant stuff. So when she talks about Lincoln Riley, when she talks about things that my generation is realizing, of like, okay, Georgia's not a border state, but there was still obviously a brutal, tragic death there because of Biden's open border policy. When she brings that up, everybody's like, oh, you're right. That is, it's kind of pointing out the obvious that people aren't necessarily paying attention to, just outright themselves. So I think she did an incredible job. A lot of the criticism that you're seeing is saying that she was too passionate. Well, Joey, guess what? These are passionate subjects. Any mom and dad and all across America are passionate as well. So that's the passion you saw. It was real. It was genuine. And the criticism, well, that was expected.
Well, yeah, and, when I watched it, I wrote about this. I mean, I was in Boston visiting friends, old drinking buddies, so I was a little drunk. But I was cheering like crazy seeing Montgomery, Alabama up there. And other than the TV makeup, that's the person I've come to know. She's kind of always that way, passionate about things. Like, we'll literally smack the desk here when she's making a point on these airwaves. So, but one part of one part of the criticism, though, that really just kind of make me say really, and it goes back to your point about one of the modern F words, family, It's the kitchen table is no longer a symbol of hearth and home. It now has become this, oh, you're just pandering and it's part of the patriarchy. And I bring this up because how do you reach the really cynical side of America? You mentioned this a second ago, that people seeing the bad outcomes of our government are now confusing that with the country itself. But how do you reach the more cynical side? I'm sure you see it on Twitter. When it's something as simple as a kitchen table conversation is now, food, it's fodder for criticism and whatnot.
Sure. No, it's absolutely difficult. I mean, you're right. One of the main criticisms was that table, was the kitchen. Guys, I don't know if this is breaking news for you, but that was her real table and that's her real kitchen. There was no props in the speech. She just sat down and filmed a video. I mean, they think too way much into it of like, oh, we bought this table, and people were saying that it was just all blank and all that in the background. She had no family. No, that's just her kitchen. That's just where her her family of 4 lives happily in Montgomery, Alabama, always have and always will. That's a real life. I mean, I don't know what they're doing in their mansions and New York and LA and all across the country where these elites are, but that's what a real American home is like. We didn't rent a house or buy any props for that one. So when you talk about how you're going to connect with them, it starts with conversations. It starts with things like what she did of just being willing to sit down and very bluntly say, here are the problems in America, not with America, but in America, and here's how we address them. We address them by electing a president that's going to actually close the border to prevent these brutal, tragic deaths that are absolutely avoidable. Laken Riley's death was absolutely avoidable. And Joe Biden sat in his hands, pronounced her name wrong, refused to talk to the family, and sits there and doesn't address it. So it starts the conversation, but they have to be willing to listen, and that's the roadblock we're running into right now.
Well, I really appreciate the time today, Brylan. Again, it's Brylan Hollyhand, folks. The book is One Generation Away, Why Now is the Time to Restore American Freedom. And you beat me to the punch. I've been meaning to publish a collection of my essays I've been writing over the last couple of years. So maybe I'll reach out off air, talk to you about Skyhorse Publishing, see what they're all about. But,
yes.
But
I'll be in Montgomery in 2 weeks. We'll grab lunch and catch up.
Awesome. And if folks do want to get the book or just follow you in general, how can they do so, Brylan?
All my social media is at Brylan Hollyhand, and the website's brylanbooks.com. Or you can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you feel comfortable. You can go and pre-order it, and we'd appreciate that support.
Well, like I said, appreciate the time, man, and best of luck.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Joey. We appreciate you. Have a great week.
You too. I enjoyed that conversation, and Rising Star, the kid, talk about, and again, it's weird for me calling somebody else a kid, but putting his best foot forward, starting at a very young age, and it's quite apparent when you speak to the young man as well. We got to hit this break. Hopefully we'll have Michael Cohen of Cohen's Electronics and Appliances on the other side.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Make 2024 the year you break away from the chain stores and join us here at Adams Drugs. We value your business and want to provide you the best customer service at the lowest possible price. We've been serving up excellent customer service here in the River region for over 62 years.
I made the swap to Adams Drugs and I couldn't be happier. Having a job and then getting 3 kids to all of their activities keeps me busy. I don't have an hour to waste waiting on a prescription. At Adams, they know me and my family. I get in and out in minutes, and when I can't get by Adams, they'll bring the prescription right to my door.
What are you waiting for? Come in to Adams Drugs and let us earn your business. Our friendly and personal staff will talk with you and answer any questions you may have about your prescriptions. Your satisfaction is our #1 goal. Visit us at adamsdrugs.net for the location nearest to you. Adams Drugs is your local independent Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
Ahoy there, landlubbers! Is your stomach yearning for some great seafood? Or maybe it's a meat and 3 you're craving. So set sail for Little Fish Tail Seafood Bar and Grill, the undisputed champion of deliciousness in Lake Jordan and Slapout. We're talking great food, fantastic drinks, and fabulous music. They're like pirates with spices, creating flavor combinations that'll make your taste buds do a jig. Go see them on Lightwood Road or call 543-4561. Don't forget a free grab bag for the little ones.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. an equal housing lender.
If it concerns your community, you'll hear about it on News Talk 93.1. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Now let's go to the phones. Talk to a great sponsor of the show, Michael Cohen from Cohen's Electronics and Appliances. Michael, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Joey. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. And, you know, I watched a movie, a fairly new movie on that beautiful TV you sold me, that 85-incher. You know, turn all the lights down, sit in the middle of the room with the surround sound going, and actually watched Wonka. I was in the mood for something whimsical. I was surprised. This is the new one with Timothy Chalamet or whatever. I was surprised at how funny and good it was, and it certainly looked great on that big TV.
Well, that's great. I think there's a lot of people out there that they get a new television or get a new sound system from us, and I think that they do get to relive all of the stuff that they had already watched, and they're all impressed with how great it could have been had they had the newer product sooner.
Oh, and there are some movies that still really hold up, like Space Odyssey's Remarkable Tombstones, just always a great time. There's so many of The Godfather 1 and 2. I mean, there's so many that on that big, especially these ones that have been remastered for 4K. It's like you're in the theater, especially with these big TVs. And you have those products there. You, in fact, now have Sony and Samsung products even bigger than the TV I bought from you.
That's right. That's right. Sony has got their 98-inch that we've got on sale at $69.99. And Samsung has just lowered the price of their 98-inch. It was $14,000, and they've lowered theirs to $99.99.
Wow.
So Samsung makes a couple of different levels. This is their QN90 series, which is their upper end, and the Sony is in their regular line of televisions. They're both great sets. I think the Samsung has probably got a lot more processing capabilities, which equates to a better picture.
And of course, when you're talking about something that big, and I mean, that's you're paying for what you get, folks. It really is a fantastic product. Number one, you'll have financing options.
Yeah, we have some great financing through Wells Fargo. They can go up to 3 years of financing. And I think we can do 6 months with no interest, but the rest of it would be with interest. If you needed it to go longer, it would be interest from day one.
Okay. And then something that big, y'all, of course, have delivery options and have folks to set it up?
To me, the most important thing we have is our install person, which is Michael Jackson. He does an incredible job, and we can get it to your home. We can put it on a cabinet for you. We can hang it on the wall. We can add sound bars. We can add 5.1, 7.1, 7.2 surround, you know, however far you want to go. And he knows how to get it set up. He knows how to get it with all your passwords for all your streaming services, for your router, your Wi-Fi, and everything. And if there's any hiccups, then he's got enough knowledge and everything so that he can actually remedy stuff while he's there. There's many times he may call the cable company because there's a problem, and he'll get everything straightened out, as opposed to a lot of people just want to point the finger that it's not my problem, it's the cable people. Cable people come out there and they blame us, but he just kind of gets to the root of the problem and handles it while he's there, which to me is a huge advantage.
Well, and I'm again a customer of Cohen's, folks, and I've experienced the service. Michael Jackson's just fantastic. At a certain point, I was like, I got it. I'm not like an old man. I can set my apps. Like, thank you.
Well, he's programmed to go slow and methodical,
right?
Because when he leaves, he doesn't mind you calling him later, but he would rather have everything done to where it's as third grade level as possible, so everybody understands and can do it, because he doesn't try to overload you with too much, but he does want you to have all the basics down so that you can enjoy what you've just purchased.
Well, there you go, folks. You can always kind of shop from home there at thinkcohens.com, but there is nothing like actually stopping by the Boulevard. 2515 Eastern Boulevard right here in Montgomery. They're open 9 to 6 there at Cohen's, Monday through Friday. 9 to 6 Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 on Saturdays. And when you do stop by, be sure to find one of the team members or Michael Cohen himself and say, hey, I heard Michael on the radio thing with that Joey fella. And that would mean the world to me if you would find them and say that.
Oh, how sweet.
Or if you saw it on the stream, we've got the website pulled up. So y'all check out Cohen's today. Thank you. Thank you,
right.
Michael.
It's all about you, Joey. I like that. No.
Thank you, sir. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Have a great day.
272-9228 if you want to get in on the program. Let's go to line 3. You're on there. Who's this?
My name is Charles.
Hey, Charles. How are you?
I'm good. This Scott Beeson?
No.
Okay, he's off today probably.
No, he's on from 9 to noon. You're now talking to Joey Clark.
Okay, Joey. My uncle named Joey.
It's a good name.
So, I got a couple things I want to go ahead and say here. This program is about opinions and about anything else you want to talk about. I just don't get, how does Donald Trump expect to be elected the president again? They tell you don't post on the internet. They found fraud in almost everybody that works for you. And then they tell you they don't want your taxes, and they do want your taxes. And he's your skin color. He's not my skin color. Your skin color. I mean, what is... People are expecting white to be the president, to be able to do these things and be able to handle, be responsible, not to be the devil, not to be somebody we can't trust. And it's even more saddening that I got a call from up north to tell you this.
A call from up north? Right. Well,
almost,
okay. You're in Ohio, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's saddening. And nobody wants them there.
I disagree there. There are a lot of folks still. I think the more, all the things you laid out, the more people go after Trump, especially, say, very powerful people go after Trump, the more people tend to like him. I think Trump is at his best when he's on the defensive. And you see in a lot of this early polling coming out from not, Bob and Tom's polling shop. It's not some conservative outfit. You're looking at New York Times polling, CNN polling, that a lot of folks are shifting to Trump, in particular, younger folks. I've noticed younger black men seem to be going Trump's way. A lot of Hispanic voters are going Trump's way. And
I'm going to tell you, Joey.
So,
I'm going to tell you, Joey. Donald, he's denouncing half Eastern Europe, half of South America. He's denounced. So anything he says is measured with scrutiny and it's not trusted. The media, the other countries instantly publish it. Don't trust them. And let's really be, they only trust the president for probably about a year and a half globally, and then they put him along with the bandwagon, the conspiracies. And, you didn't have to hear it from me. You can probably figure it out. He owes so many people money. I wouldn't trust his taxes. He owes me money.
He owes you money.
He owes me money from Cartoon Network.
From Cartoon Network?
Yeah, when he was still a part of the UFO cult of America. He owes me. He owes my uncle money.
So you're part of the whole Cartoon Network thing?
Candidate. Yeah, he owes me money from Cartoon Network. It's a true story, actually. It's a show on TV called The Boondocks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's about my life. And
Wait, The Boondocks is about you?
Yeah, it is.
In part? That's awesome.
He's talking to the one with the afro. That's who it's based on, not the one with the braids.
No, that's a great show. I know it.
And actually, he owes me money from Cartoon Network that I never got. And so this is one person where I would invite you to my city to come and see me, and I would talk to you and I'll tell you to your face. But nobody that supports you don't got nothing I agree with going on with them. They are participating in fraud, the Eastern Europe Soviet, third generation Soviets trying to sell our American flag to some gay gun manufacturer. Don't nobody that used to support him know about anything I talk about or even agree with shit I know about. And you know what? Real sad, the day is coming that y'all better get ready, because Vladimir Putin said he's not leaving office or retiring into 2035. So let's very well get real about this shit, because Black Lives Matter wasn't my fault, and neither was January 6th. Because I wasn't talking to nobody on the internet and committing fraud and lying about my taxes and trying to send people.
Yeah, Raul, I appreciate the call there, man. And feel free to call again, and we'll see whether or not you can sway anybody. But I got to hit my top of the hour break. This break's going to be fairly quick, and then I believe our guest is here, State Senator Will Barfoot. Oh, that was an interesting call there. I don't know. Boondocks was about you, sir? Fascinating. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. It has been a wild ride today for America's 45th president. A New York judge presiding over Mr. Trump's hush money case has rescheduled that trial for April 15th, and a New York court has agreed to hold off collection of Trump's $450 million civil fraud judgment if he puts up a $175 million bond within 10 days. Mr. Trump says, okay. Russia launching a new series of missile attacks on the capital of Ukraine. There's reports of widespread destruction. United Nations Security Council has demanded a ceasefire in Gaza. The United States abstained on that resolution earlier today, which also demanded the release of all hostages taken when that war started. This is SRN News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. We've helped over 30,000 families out of financial hardship by getting them out of bad timeshares. If your timeshare agreement goes on forever, if you were told timeshares are a great investment, or your maintenance fees will never go up, you have questions, we have the answers. At Wesley Financial Group, we're dedicated to helping timeshare owners get out of their financial nightmare. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call now for your free timeshare exit information kit. 800-256-5533. That's 800-256-5533. 800-256-5533.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network, brought to you by Montgomery Paint and Body. From a little fender bender to total body repair, MPB will fix it good as new, maybe better. For over 35 years, the Turner family has been getting you back on the road. Call 279-7325.
Hi, everybody. Weather changes on the way as the next storm system approaches. Today will be dry, though, and quite breezy, mostly cloudy with a high temperature in the lower 70s. Wind advisory tonight, winds gusting as high as 35 miles per hour. Dry through the evening hours, but scattered showers move in the overnight hours, low 62. Showers and thunderstorms tomorrow, locally heavy downpours. Tuesday's high 71. Wednesday's high 73. Upper 60s Thursday, mostly sunny, and warmer by the weekend. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
CB&S Bank has digital banking solutions to help you keep up. Check balances, pay bills, and much more. Learn more at cbsbank.com. Charges and fees may apply from your cellular service provider. Contact your service provider for information. Member FDIC.
1819 News.
Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen is reporting on changes made within Alabama's election systems. The report from Allen comes 1 year after he took office and removed the state of Alabama from the out-of-state ERIC system for managing voter rolls and implemented an in-state program called AVID. Allen spoke on News Talk 93.1 with host Joey Clark.
The Alabama Voter Integrity Database, and it's been really good. We've identified over about 109,000 voters that have moved out of state. So we, have been working those lists really hard. One of the things that people don't realize, though, is that the National Voter Registration Act of 1993 that Congress passed prohibits states within 90 days of an election to work your voter file maintenance. So you can't remove anybody, can't place them on inactive, all that sort of thing. So, December the 5th, we quit working those inactive of those lists that we've identified. Right. And so after the primary runoff, we'll get back to work, in preparation for the November election.
I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Are you enjoying 1819 News? If so, consider joining 1819 News as a member. As a nonprofit news organization, we depend on the support of Alabamians like you. Memberships start out as little as $5 a month, and you'll get access to exclusive content only offered to our members. You'll be supporting independent journalism done by people who cherish Alabama values. Become a member today by visiting 1819news.com and clicking Become a Member. That's 1819news.com and click Become a Member today.
A small plane crashed into a wooded area in Opelika on Sunday night. Amazingly, the pilot walked away from that wreckage unscathed. There were no other passengers on board the Cessna 172. The Federal Aviation Administration is going to investigate the cause of that crash. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Sometimes you need things done around your house or land that your lawnmower or weed eater just can't handle. That's when you call Prattville Farm Center. They bring their own crew and equipment and clear whatever you need. They say no job is too small. I've been going to Prattville Farm Center for years, and I like dealing with hometown folks. They get the job done right and get it done quickly. If you have land that needs clearing, call Randy at Prattville Farm Center on South Memorial Drive in Prattville. Call 365-5400.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
This is how you conduct yourself in a democracy?
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Final hour here on a very manic Monday, but I'm surviving. And as promised, right across the desk from me to discuss, the ongoing legislative session, we have my state senator, Will Barfoot, here in the studio. How you doing today, sir?
Pretty good. Glad to be here.
Yeah, good to have you on the show. So, just in a general sense, how would you say, because you've been through a few of these now, this year's legislative session is going?
Very hectic and productive, I think. You take any of the myriad of kind of the red meat Republican conservative issues, and alone by themselves in any one session, they would have been the topic of the session, and we've managed to accomplish several of those goals in 5-6 weeks now. So been very productive out of the first 17 days.
Now, one bill that you carried, at least it was high profile in the press, was this DEI bill that is now law. It's signed by the governor. Explain what this law now does and kind of how that process went.
Sure. So the bill addresses basically 3 different areas, the divisive concepts, and it lists out what divisive concepts are. I mean, that's a general term, but the bill itself lists those 9 different divisive concepts, and it, I don't remember all of those word for word, but basically that, a divisive concept would be that because of your race, sex, national origin, gender, religion, that you're inherently superior or inferior to anyone else. That because of any of those, race, sex, national origin, gender, ethnicity, your moral compass is determined by any of that. So those kind of bullet points there are 9 or 10 divisive concepts that are laid out in there that the state of Alabama through the state agencies, K through 12 or higher education, could not promote those divisive concepts. The second part of that bill was dealing with specifically diversity, equity, inclusion. Of course, those words by themselves sound inviting and sound like something we should all be for. DEI, as it's commonly referenced throughout the state and throughout the nation, has become something quite different. It's a wedge that divides us, and we prohibit in this bill state taxpayer dollars from being used for any DEI type office or program at the higher education level, state agency, or K through 12. And then finally, the bill itself, and there was a lot of discussion about what this bill does, and the opposition was, you're just going to, teachers won't be able to teach history, and we're not going to be able to address the sins of the past. And that bill in section, I think, 4 of the legislation specifically addressed what is not prohibited, and certainly the teaching of history in a historically accurate context was not prohibited. So I think it was a good bill. There were a few little tweaks and changes along the way. I think when people put their eyes on it and you go, well, you didn't think about this. Oh yeah, let's change this. Let's make this better. I've heard it said it's probably one of the better DEI divisive concepts type legislations that's out there throughout this country. So.
And from the response I've seen from, say, University of Alabama or Auburn University, it kind of makes clear that, yeah, we still actually want to treat everybody with respect and dignity. Sure. We're just not going to deal with these 9 concepts. And, I've found plenty of interviews. There's one Glenn Lowry did where he talked to somebody who literally was a DEI bureaucrat. Right. And she started to realize, she thought it was diversity is great. She realized that, no, they are really pushing this oppressor-oppressed narrative, using it as kind of a bloody axe to hew through every root and branch of society. Yep. And she was wondering, what can't we teach the sins of the past or the problems of the past through the lens of human dignity, not this collective guilt game we're playing?
100%. Troy was an example of a university that did not, and evidently will not now have a DEI office, and their diversity among their student population was somewhere around 38%, I think, black students. And then if you look at all minorities, I think it was above 50%. So when you compare that to some of the other flagship universities in the state, that Troy had done a great job. Again, we should want individuals who are capable of learning, that want to be there, and that should not be based on whether or not they're short, tall, fat, black, white, young, old. It's you want the best and the brightest to come. So,
amen. Though I've learned that diversity, I don't know if you know the social scientist Robert Putnam. He's became famous for that book Bowling Alone, where he's talking about Americans aren't joining fraternal groups and they're literally bowling alone instead of joining, say, a bowling league, and that's across the board and all sorts of different aspects of life. He did a follow-up, I think this came out a couple of years ago, where he wanted to investigate diversity. And he found that diversity had either no effect or a negative effect. It made people watch more TV and protest more.
Yeah.
And he said the only place it really works is when you say you join a church. So all of you are oriented to the mission of the church, or you join the military. So everybody's oriented to the mission of the military. That's when people, to your point, of different backgrounds really work together. But diversity for its own sake seems to, well, it doesn't really get us anything.
It doesn't. As a matter of fact, I've used this term before. It really is a wedge sometimes when you point out people's differences, and in an effort to bring them together, it has quite the opposite effect.
Right. And, well, it's good to see that we got this through. This is now law here in the great state of Alabama. Now, one bill or massive legislation that my bet was that it would not pass before everything got going is this big pull on gambling, the overhaul on gaming here in the state of Alabama. If I had to make a binary choice, I would probably go with the Senate's language. But where do you think this goes, if it goes anywhere?
So 105 members of the House, 35 members of the Senate, you got 140 different opinions on where, if at all, it goes from here. You're right. The House tackled the issue fairly early on. sent us a pretty expansive piece of legislation. Senate took a couple of weeks, pared that down dramatically, and sent it back to the House. Believe they got that probably Tuesday of last week. What happens at this point in the House, I don't know that anybody knows. Obviously, that would be most likely up to the Speaker and the sponsors in the House. There's a couple of different options, given the fact that we did pare it down dramatically in the Senate, and that would be that the House could either vote to concur on the constitutional amendment, and I'm just kind of speaking about the constitutional amendment now,
Sure.
but concur on the constitutional amendment. That's one motion that they could entertain. They could vote to non-concur and go to conference, or they could vote to non-concur and the bill is dead. I don't think that third one is quite much of an option, but either concur or non-concur and go to conference. It's going to be interesting to see what happens then. Of course, in the conference committee, there are 3 House members and 3 senators who look at the bill, make potential changes to that, and then that bill would go back to the House of origin. In this case, it would go back to the House if a conference committee does come to an agreement. It takes 2 members from each body to come to an agreement, go back to the House of origin, so the House would get an opportunity to vote up or down on it, or maybe even make another motion to go back to a conference committee. If the House concurred with what the conference committee did, then it would go to the Senate for us to have some input on it.
Now, is there enough time to do all that?
Yeah, I think so. It depends on when any of that happens, what happens and when it happens. I will tell you, at the Senate, I don't think there's much of an appetite to go much further to have any substantial changes from what we've done in the Senate. I think any major changes, or even changes that may seem minor but have major implications on there, probably be met with less than 21 approval votes out of the Senate, which that's what it takes, 3/5 majority.
Now, who is driving the car on the Senate side? Who is really, because I know it was Rep. Blackshear and like the Speaker's office or on the House side, but who in the Senate side is really driving this car?
Well, certainly Senator Albritton, is very supportive of gambling expansion for multiple reasons. I think he would probably say it a little bit different way than what I've said it, expansion and to capture that revenue and to regulate. And I think that's an important part of both bills. Had a very regulatory portion of that currently illegal gambling in the state of Alabama is misdemeanors, and it did make some of that felonies. And so there was a pretty harsh approach, maybe not harsh, but certainly more, caused some problems for some folks who are engaging in illegal gambling that came out of both those versions. So I think he certainly is an advocate of what the House had done. There were several members in the Senate who I don't believe would ever vote for that type of expansion of gambling. And we got pared down.
Now, could theoretically there just be a concurrence on just the amendment, and the enabling legislation is just like dead for the moment, or the people could still vote on changing the Constitution? Then it would be up to a future legislature to actually put some teeth into that.
It could, but that causes lots of problems, right?
Right.
If you have a constitutional amendment that, which the legislature cannot pass a gambling bill. We can only pass a constitutional amendment that gives the people of the state the right to vote on that. So there's some key language in that constitutional amendment. And certainly if a constitutional amendment passed without the enabling, the folks could vote on it. But I think there's potential problems with that happening.
Yeah, and we'll see where it goes. I'm worried gambling was going to kind of cannibalize the rest of the session, but it seems like, to your first point, a lot is getting done this session. I've got to hit a quick break, and we'll come back. Again, we're talking with State Senator Will Barfoot. More news and views after this.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
This is former Alabama Supreme Court Justice Glenn Murdoch. Alabama is a great place to live and work and raise our families because Alabamians are a good people of faith and traditional values. But a huge gambling bill in Montgomery would change our culture forever. 10 massive casinos bringing more crime to our big cities and small towns, highly addictive cell phone betting, and the state selling the lie of lottery riches to the poor and most vulnerable. With all that's wrong in the world, this is no time to give up on our traditional values in Alabama. Call and ask your senator to be the leader you elected them to be. To stand strong and vote no on gambling and keep Alabama a great place to live and work and raise our families. Thank you.
Call your senator at 334-261-0800, 334-261-0800, 334-261-0800. Paid for by Eagle Forum, Alabama.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
The Health and Wealth Show. The Health and Wealth Show. The show so nice, we said it twice. Weekday evenings at 6 on News Talk 93.1 WACV. The Health.
Break it up, son. Joke's over, hey?
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group. Selling a home in the river region in this market takes some planning and preparation to be successful. Here are some steps to take to get your home sold fast. Remember the 5 P's. Prepare the home, fresh coat of paint inside and out, and complete any repairs needed. Professionally clean the home. A deep cleaning of floors, cabinets, windows, and blinds will leave a great impression for future buyers. Provide a home warranty for the buyer to give the buyer peace of mind after the closing. Provide a closing cost allowance for the buyer to help them be able to afford your home. Price your home to sell, not sit. A comparative market analysis from a local realtor will demonstrate what other properties have sold for in your neighborhood. Well-priced homes sell faster with less hassle. Houses are selling fast and sellers are getting top dollar. For all the answers, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group, 221-2883 or 551-0225.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number 1 in the number 2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
News and talk without the static. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon, 272-9228. If you have a comment or question for our guest, State Senator Will Barfoot, talking the legislative session, how it's gone so far. Now, I don't know if this has come up in session, but it is a problem. Does it look like that the bond the state was able to get for prisons is really only going to cover one of the proposed prisons? Like, where are we at with this?
Yeah, haven't, not on those committees that address that, but I think that's true, unfortunately. Cost, supply chains, gouging, you may call it. It looks like that the bond issue will cover one of those, and that's because not that we couldn't get the bond amount that we wanted, but the cost of those prisons has increased dramatically. We'll see. I mean, has been one of the pushes that Senator Albritton said, hey, we've got infrastructure needs like with prisons that and mental health that we're going to have to make some decisions about what we're doing. Of course, we're in a federal lawsuit now that continues and about housing of inmates and treatment of inmates while they're in there. And I do think an extra prison and a different design probably helps alleviate some of that, and especially maybe in the court side. So
it's just like, because that was federal money that was used. Or it's frustrating to see, okay, we're still kind of stuck and we still have the feds breathing down our necks legally, the DOJ, legally speaking.
Yep, that's true. Part of the push for that, and it seems rational to me, is that, you have dormitory style facilities now, probably most of them built in the 70s and the 80s, kind of outlived their usefulness. And when you've got 150 inmates and 2 prison guards working that room, it's pretty easy to figure out who controls that area. Inmates, can get away with a lot of different things. They didn't get in there because they're, choir boys. And so when you have inmates in there, it's pretty easy, I would suspect, for them to say to those 2 guards, listen, who's in control, and, turn your head and you didn't see anything. And unfortunately, I'm sure that happens.
Now, one, I believe also another that's now law the governor signed is dealing with the whole Carly Russell situation.
Yeah.
Did that come in front of y'all at Judiciary, or?
It did. And I don't remember if the governor signed that last week or not. I'm not sure where it's at, but we did have that in the Senate Judiciary. Senator April Weaver had that bill. I forgot the House member that had it. Maybe I don't remember.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of moving parts there, but we did pass that at the Senate, I believe, and certainly came out of Senate Judiciary, and that imposes some more strict punishment on folks who would call in a crime that like happened in that Carly Russell situation. So I think that's a needed change.
Well, and another change I think is needed, and I don't often use my weekly column space for 1819 News to be like, y'all do this. But I did one week because I think it was right after Senator Tuberville's house was swatted in Auburn. And I very graciously, Philip Insler, who's my Democrat state rep here in my district, he took up putting increased penalties for swatting. Is that made it to y'all's side?
It did. So you're right. Representative Insler from right here in Montgomery had that bill passed the House, I think in bipartisan effort, 102 to nothing, 103 to nothing, whatever that count was. And then made it to the Senate Judiciary Committee, and I presided over that. We actually had that in committee last week, and I believe it was unanimous in Senate Judiciary Committee. So hopefully it'll get a hearing and some debate and discussion on the Senate floor within the next week or so.
Oh, let's hope. But from where I know you're on Judiciary, but from where how are we doing financially? How's the state doing? We just mentioned we don't have enough for prisons, but I'd imagine we're doing all right.
Yeah. So I don't sit on either one of the budgets. The budgets have continued to grow, both the education trust fund budget as well as the general fund. Every year, some of that has been maybe a faster growth, at least on paper, than it really is with the influx of federal dollars. I do think that we're going to have to, we better brace ourselves. I think Alabama's done a much better position, in a better position now than other states maybe around us, and certainly nationally have. Senator Chambliss had, and I forget the exact title of it, but several years ago, it was almost like a rolling reserve in the general fund that we have in the education budget. So we're not spending, the budgets are fairly conservative. In other words, just because you have it doesn't mean you need to budget and allocate that. And then some of the growth has been better than expected.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Because, when I look at the general fund, it is, compared to the ETF, fairly meager, though it's still a lot of money. And it seemed maybe it was just a fight in the media, but where should we build roads in this lovely state of ours? I know some want the West Alabama idea. I tend to be a little more partial to Lieutenant Governor Ainsworth. Let's make 65 wider. Where are you at on this?
Yeah, I'm not an engineer or traffic specialist, but I will tell you this. It seems to me reasonable that you put the roads where the most traffic is, right, to alleviate the most congestion, and certainly 65 qualifies for that. I've heard a lot of discussion about 65. I'd also say 85 could probably use some widening as well. So those major corridors through the state, not that the West Alabama project's not a worthwhile project,
Sure.
but what traffic alleviations are, what's the impact it's going to have, and what's the dollar figure that we're committing to. And so I think that's something that certainly needs to be considered, and we'll see where that lands up. I know the governor's very supportive of the West Alabama corridor, but let's just hope we don't spend all the money in the piggy bank before we can accomplish something like Governor Ainsworth wants to do.
Again, folks, we're talking to State Senator Will Barfoot, and you're the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. So is there anything that maybe hasn't gotten publicity that's come across that y'all are really interested, changes y'all have made or issues y'all have tackled?
Well, great question. So I am currently sponsoring, just filed last week, a bill dealing with mental health and the probate courts throughout the state. In a nutshell, it does 3 or 4 different major things. Current law mandates are, if you're suffering from a mental illness, there's a petition that someone can file for involuntary commitment. Currently, the remedy for that, should the court find that you do need some mental health treatment, one of 3 things: either dismiss it or continue it, or commit you to a facility to up to, I believe it's 120, 150 days. That's rarely used anymore on the commitment process or the inpatient, because we just don't have the bed space. A lot of times it's a continuance, and although it's not accurate to say it's almost like probation. It's, hey, we find that you do suffer from mental illness, that you may be a threat or harm to yourself or others, and we're going to make sure that over this 30, 60, 90, 120 day period that you're going to be checking in with mental health professionals. They're going to get to gauge what's going on, making sure you're taking medication and all. So that's current law. Current law does not allow for a secondary diagnosis of drug addiction. It's not the technical term. This bill would say, hey, just if you have a mental illness as the primary diagnosis, but you also suffer from
substance abuse,
and that substance abuse correlates with your mental health illnesses as a secondary function, that the probate court can look at that. That's one of the things it does. Secondly is, if you went to file a petition on somebody now in Montgomery County and they had left and gone to Autauga County, probate judge in Montgomery County has no authority over the sheriff's department, for instance, in Autauga County.
Right.
This would give the authority for the probate judge in Montgomery County to issue that order to the Montgomery County sheriff, and then they could coordinate and work through Autauga County to go and pick you up to have that hearing. Mental health hearing. So a couple of good things there. There's also a piece of that puzzle where if you are, for instance, arrested for disorderly conduct, which may include, as an example, if I went out in the middle of the road and took off my clothes and started yelling, I think people would think that'd be disorderly.
Just a bit.
But once that law enforcement officer arrests me for that and places me in custody and takes me to the local jail, the probate courts are kind of without authority at this point to assess that. So this would give the probate judge in each county the ability, if it's a misdemeanor or a violation of a municipal ordinance, to ask the district or municipal court for the authority to take you into custody, transfer you that jurisdiction over to the probate court to have you seen about. So a couple of things I think that are worthwhile, and we'll see where that goes.
Now, I've asking you this every time you come in here, but I think it's one of those evergreen issues. Just take your temperature on it. From a general perspective, where do you see Alabama's court system? Are we still backed up, bloated, or are we getting a little more efficient? How's it going?
A hodgepodge. Backed up for sure, no question about that. In Montgomery, and these may not be completely accurate numbers, but you'll get the picture, somewhere close to 300 either murder or capital murder cases that are there. We've got 9 judges in Montgomery. They do a very good job by and large. But a murder case, especially a capital murder case, can be a week or sometimes a 2-week long trial. Right. We're backed up, not just in Montgomery but around the state. There is a bill right now that would allow for retired judges to come back and hear cases on a limited basis for a limited amount of time throughout the year. That was Representative Jim Hill's bill, and we just passed that out of the Senate Judiciary last week. So that's something that may have some, at least small impact on trying to get some cases moving.
Yeah, and I actually went through jury duty. I went through the whole process until they put me on the bubble, and then I was like, guys, I got to interview. Like, can we figure something out here? And I was able to get out of it. But I did see James Anderson in action, and he laid out how much the backlog is with the criminal cases, but also the civil cases are very much backlogged. And I kind of feel for the judges because, it's one thing being a juror or a potential juror, seeing how that system works. It's like, this does take a lot of time. You're working with a lot of different types of people. And again, I'm not somebody who usually says give the government more money, but I think expanding our judiciary continues to be an important idea.
No question. It is a co-equal branch of government that we inadequately fund on a lot of times. So I had the pleasure, and I say that honestly, of serving on 2 different juries before. One when I was in my early to mid 20s on a trafficking case, and so it was a criminal case, and the other one 2006 or so on a civil case. It's amazing what goes on in those jury rooms. Every lawyer should be required to sit through one of those jury trials. So.
Or at least watch, what's the movie? 12 Angry Men?
12 Angry Men, that's it. Yeah.
Still a fantastic movie. Yeah, I've been going and working with all the classics here for a lot with this brand new TV I just got from Cohen's, and it's like 85-inch. It was a child wish fulfillment
85-inch TV.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Cohen's is the place to go, though.
Yeah, they are. Michael's a great guy over there. But so I kind of back up here and do more general. Some ideas that I know, especially the conservative faithful, would like to see happen, but I've not heard a lot about it. So I suspect seeing what you've heard with the state health officer. And I'm not saying this to pick on Scott Harris necessarily. Others can do that if they like. But I think it is a good idea to have a little more electoral oversight for some of these professional bureaucrats. Have you heard anything about this?
Yeah, there's Senator Gavan out of Huntsville has a bill dealing with that, and I'm not sure the mechanics of that at this point. It will go through the Health Committee. Senator Melson also, who chairs that committee, also has a bill. Haven't read either one of them yet. I'm not on that committee, so we'll see what comes out of there. I do 100% agree, and this is not to beat up on Dr. Harris, who I suspect probably for what he was tasked to do did his job, right? And probably did a good job overall. The problem is to your point is that individual or that position is not accountable to the people, right? And so we need to have a mechanism in place, at least going forward, where that position is maybe a cabinet level position or is answerable directly to the governor. And as you know, and I forget the statute, but from 1940 something, 1950 something is how that was set up originally, to where, the state health officer basically has unfettered authority and power to do what we saw around the country and in some cases here in Alabama. And that's unconscionable. We need to have, but listen, if you're going to make a decision, you need to be answerable to the people, either by, elected officials who then in turn, have a say-so on, the response and the duties that you're doing, or certainly at least maybe to the people themselves.
Now, one of the big highlights of this session, I think, looking back at it, I hope the program expands, is the passage of school choice. And I know, I think, Senator Orr really helped shepherd that through. But did you vote for it? What did you think of that?
Voted for it. So let me rewind a couple of years. So Senator Marsh in 2022, I guess his last year there, had a school choice bill. He did not run again. Senator Stutz kind of picked up the mantle last year. Had the Price Act, acronym was the Price Act. And then this year, the governor kind of helped weigh in on that, obviously, and the two education budget chairs were the sponsors, Senator Orr in the Senate, and then Representative Garrett in the House. And yes, I'm a big supporter, signed off on that, voted for it. I will tell you this, though, while that is a piece of the puzzle, that is not the silver bullet. And the reason I say that is because that bill allows parents to choose which school they're going to go to at the first 2 years. I think it's there's a floor of $100 million that can be spent on that. We'll see how much is actually used. There is a cap, though, and I forget, I think it's a family of four. It's 300 something percent times the poverty level. Maybe it's 400% times the poverty level for the first 2 years. Then after that, it's open up to everybody. If there had been a change, that change I would have wanted would have been it's open to everybody the first year, not wait till 3 years in.
Right.
But it's a good compromise. But let me tell you why that's not the silver bullet, because it requires parents to understand about what options are. It requires action on behalf of parents to make those choices that are beneficial for their children. So, for instance, you may have a school system where parents are not engaged, don't understand or know how to accomplish the goal of getting their children out of a school system into another one, or quite honestly, some parents maybe just don't care, right? So it is not the silver bullet. There's a lot of work to be done. We'll look at school districts, I think, in the future that are underperforming and take a closer look at them once the dust settles on the kids that are able to use this CHOOSE program.
So the $100 million's a floor, or is it like you can't spend more than $100 million?
No, you can spend more than 100. It has to. There's at least the legislative body has to allocate at least $100 million.
Oh wow,
to that.
okay. So, but that $100 million's it's a lot of money, but it's a drop in the bucket compared to the rest of the ETF.
It is, and you're talking about the state portion of those tax dollars, which is somewhere around $7,000 per student. So local monies and federal monies still stay in the school district where that child would have been or is zoned for. There's some pushback from local schools around the state, and some of that was, well, you're taking the kid, but yes, that's true, but you're still getting financial resources from the federal government and local tax base to educate a child that you don't have that responsibility for anymore. So, I don't think there's the negative impact that some would say it's going to have, and I don't think it's a silver bullet that cures all the problems.
Again, folks, we've been talking to State Senator Will Barfoot. When I look at the state big picture, I guess we can get out of here with this. For instance, I bring this up with a lot of, whether it's a city councilman or you represent this area in the state Senate, how important it is to have a brand new senator who lives here in Montgomery. And I'm bringing this up because I'm thinking about, the bad that we saw in the news headlines with the Biden administration taking Space Command out of Huntsville. But part of me is also like, why is it all just going to Hunt Vegas? I know, Shelby and all sorts. Redstone is a major nerve center of the federal government. I get it. Blue Origin's building rockets up there. But how do we get some of that here? If we're going to take federal money, where are we going to see it in Montgomery? Though I guess we have Maxwell, but where I'm coming from.
Yeah, so, it's been a big push here in the last couple of years to make sure that Montgomery does, in fact, get a fair share of the resources. There are projects that have come up that, it's almost like there's a piece of the pie, right? And this happens in Washington, D.C. all the time. And if the rules are that this money is going to be spent, right? Maybe I'm against spending it, but if it's going to get spent, we certainly want some of that to come back to the river region.
Right.
And I think our delegation works fairly well together to try to accomplish those goals. When you think about the power structure in the House and the Senate, a lot of that is in North Alabama. That's where most of the population is. So therefore, more senators and more House members from those areas. So It's a big change from the Constitution of 1901, where for a long period of time you had South Alabama that was kind of the big guy in the room and got to make those decisions. And that population-based change has created new dynamics in the legislature.
Well, and a lot of those guys from the northern part of the state got to spend at least some time down here in Montgomery, a few parts of the year. So they might as well spruce the place up a little bit.
Well, you think, in reference to the State House, that building, I think, was built in the 60s, Highway Department building. The legislature moved from the Capitol over there in the 80s. It is, I drive a 2016 truck. Before that, and I've only had that for about 3 or 4 years. Before that, I drove a 2003 pickup truck. And the goal of a truck or a building or anything else should be, in my opinion, I'm not an aesthetics person. It should be, is it functional? Does it do what it's intended to do? And then you look at whether or not what the cost is to maintain and to make sure that continues to do what it's supposed to do. In the case of a vehicle, to get you to point A or point B, from point A to point B. And if it starts costing you more to do that, to accomplish that goal, then maybe you need to look at other options. With the State House, I think it would be great and nice to have one. Obviously, the construction is going on in the back. I do note, though, that, I don't remember a whole lot of jumping up and down when we remodeled the Capitol, the executive branch here back in the 80s or 90s. I certainly don't remember any controversy when the Supreme Court built a new building, which they needed and has been put to good use. So I'm hopeful that the driving force behind the legislative new State House is going to be and has been, especially when COVID was in, is that you were limited the number of people who were there. The ADA compliance is horrific. If you ever got sued, there was a gentleman that came from Tennessee to testify last week, and he thought that the allergies were giving him a problem, and the joke around the State House was, it's not the allergies, it's the mold.
The mold, yeah.
You've been down there, and you've seen some of the pictures about some of the floors and rooms that are basically uninhabitable, and so there's a cost associated with that.
It does feel old school, but now y'all can't blame the mold. Neurological issues. We made the wrong decisions.
That's right.
And is it true, the rumor that each new office is going to have like a fully stocked mini bar?
Oh, gosh, I hadn't heard that one, but the mini bar doesn't bother me. I mean, that's not the push for me. You look at my waistline, it's like, let's have a snack bar.
Yeah, there you go. I'm not a sweet tooth guy though.
Nah.
Give me a plate of bacon cheese fries and I'll eat that all day, every day.
Yep.
Well, I do appreciate the time. I think we have one call in here. Let's see. You're on the air. State Senator Will Barfoot here with us.
Will Barfoot, this is Red Top, because I painted your house for Norman Slimmer.
The Whistler.
Yes, sir. Will put it. I'm still whistling. By the way, Joey, I can hear myself whistling on hold a little bit every now and then. It tickles me. But here's a question for you about the infrastructure. I know you're not on those committees and all that, but the Pike Road interchange, I guess it's never going to get finished to the Troy Highway.
A lot of federal money involved in that, and I think these major projects like that, or like the bridge down in Mobile, the amount of federal money that's involved, and without that federal money, it's probably not going to happen, at least in our lifetime. So,
does that include the loading new container port here in Montgomery?
No, that I think is currently underway. And I haven't been out there to see that. I'm supportive of that, at least as I understand it. I mean, that enables, goods from the port up and from Hyundai and other areas around the state down to the bay. And of course, back in 2018 or so, when the Rebuild Alabama project gas tax increase was passed, that was part of that equation, was to deepen the Mobile port, and I think that part of it for sure was a good use of the taxpayer dollars, I believe.
Is that container port going to be north or south of downtown?
It is going to be south around Hope Hole area, I believe, and specifically where, I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay, so southeast of Maxwell Air Force Base.
Certainly south, maybe southwest. I'm trying to think of the map.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That sounds great. It's a good thing for Montgomery, and I'm glad to see the river being used again for the first time in, 150 years?
Yeah.
So it'll be a great asset. Thank you. Good to talk to you, bud.
Hey,
Call
good to
me
talk
if you
to
ever
you.
need some help.
Hey, thank you much.
Appreciate it right time. Be careful tickling yourself, especially in public. 272-9228. I'm going to let you get out of here. I really do appreciate the time.
Always enjoy it.
And I appreciate the job you do up there as well. And I'll say, folks, I like House members at the state or federal level. I like senators the best, though.
Well, thank you.
There's something about that.
It's rarely fun, but sometimes it is meaningful. And there's not every day that I can say that I've had an opportunity to change something for the better. But those few occasions that you get an opportunity to stop something or to make a significant change on something, you gotta smile about those times, because there's lots of other times that you can't. So.
Yes, sir. On the margins. It's always on the margins, but I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
More news and views after this.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Rich Thomas weather brought to you by H&H Carpets, where you will find a complete line of Mohawk carpet with exceptionally clean, smart strand fiber. It's always available and ready to be installed. H&H Carpets, across from Walmart on the Atlanta Highway.
Rich Thomas weather.
Hi, everybody. We've got a storm system fast approaching. The winds are picking up ahead of it, and wind advisory is in effect tonight with winds gusting as high as 35 miles per hour. We're dry through the evening hours, but scattered showers developing in the overnight hours, low 62. Showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. Locally heavy downpours at times, high 71. Wednesday's high 73 will be in the upper 60s on Thursday, mostly sunny, and then warmer by the weekend. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Web Bobo with Capital Tractor. Make this spring your most productive yet with our package deal on Kubota's L2501 DT tractor with front loader, 5-foot cutter and box blade, and 20-foot trailer at special spring savings. Kubota and Capital Tractor, Montgomery, Brundage, and Greenville.
At Guardian Credit Union, we believe that banking should be personal, just like the relationships we build with members. Imagine a place where you're not just a credit score, but a valued part of our community. At Guardian, our dedicated team takes the time to listen, understand, and tailor financial solutions that fit your unique needs. From buying a car to saving for college and even starting a small business, we've got you covered. Come experience the Guardian difference and let's achieve your financial goals together. Guardian Credit Union, where you belong. Federally insured by NCUA.
Mike Costanza with Chappie's Deli. And Jeff Baranko with Chappie's Deli. One of the reasons Chappie's Deli has been around for over 32 years is Blue Water Broadcasting.
Yes, it is, and we have the perfect faces for radio.
We sure do. And if you have a perfect face for radio, call Blue Water.
Now you can add the power of digital advertising to the #1 reach of radio. Let Blue Water's 20 years of local advertising and marketing success show you how. Grow your business with a complete suite of digital solutions, combined with the reach of the most listened to radio group in the river region. Call us or go to BlueWaterBroadcasting.com to find out how we can increase your return on investment. Blue Water Broadcasting, local folks helping local business.
Don't you love the feeling of coming home to a clean house? Let Southern Bell's cleaning service get your home in order. Families in the river region trust Southern Bell's because they know Callan and Jesse will show up on time and believe in cleaning the old-fashioned way. They bring all their own supplies and specialize in full-service, residential, commercial, vacant properties, and construction cleanup. Estimates are always free. Call Southern Bells today at 546-0715 or follow them on Facebook at Southern Bells Cleaning River Region.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is #1 in the #2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
The River Region's first and only news talk station on FM. Live, local talk. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Final moments of news and views. in the afternoon. 272-9228. Been flying solo all day today, and I have to admit, I miss Eddie. I miss that fellow. I wonder what he's up to today. I think he's actually going to be out tomorrow. And he told me he was busy, and I tend to believe him. And by the way, thank you for all the love on the X platform. This humble little local talk radio show, we started with like 20 people watching us, if that. Now over 200 folks on the X platform watching us. I really appreciate all the love. And of course, you can go to X, Twitter, at the Joey Clark. Follow me there. Or you can go to YouTube, Joey Clark Live, and watch that way. And we're supposed to be talking to Ray Bowles of Prattville Carpet. So I'm just going to do this live here. Y'all get to see how our phone system works. See if he picks up.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Ray, we're actually on the air because I'm flying solo, and so I just called you up direct. How you doing today?
I'm great. We are actually in Reno or outside somewhere outside of Reno in a chocolate factory. Let me walk outside.
A chocolate factory?
Yeah, staying on top of the chocolate factory. Oh,
that's not a bad idea. I just watched that new Wonka movie. It's pretty damn good.
If you're like 15, when you're 51, you can't do that anymore.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So you're out of town. Is the store in good hands? Is Prattville Carpet going to be all right?
The store is in great hands. Yeah. All the guys are working. Everything's going good. I checked in on 3 times today, and it seems like everybody's flowing really well. We still have really good buys on that. All that LVP I bought at the show. We got a pallet left of that. It's sitting inside the showroom. So if you need an estimate, call us today at 285-8117. We'll come back to that free measurement just like that.
Again, that number, 285-8117. And be sure to tell them that you heard Ray here on the radio with that Joey fella. And best of luck touring the chocolate factory.
Well, yesterday we went looking for gold and busted the tires, so we spent the whole day under the truck trying to change the tire on the F250. If you don't have to change the tire on the F250, it's not the funnest thing to do out in the middle of a blizzard. We were literally in the blizzard changing a busted tire.
Yeah, imagine you need a pretty heavy duty jack to get one of those big old tires off.
I told my buddy, I said, the only thing we're going to remember this vacation 10 years from now is this.
Oh, well, but then you'll look back and laugh. Oh, I remember how crazy we were. Well,
it's a good time. But, yeah, if y'all need anything, call the store, 285-8117.
Well, thank you, Ray. Have a good rest of your trip.
Y'all too.
And on that note, we got about 2 shopping minutes left. Is anything broken in the news? Anything at all? Let's check in. Greg Vidal and Happy Hour coming up here soon. Kevin O'Leary continuing to beat the drum. Foreign investors are asking difficult questions about New York and Letitia James. Yeah, they should. This is the sort of crap you see in communist regimes. They can do worse. This idea that no, private players in the market aren't allowed to make their own deals. We, the government, know better. Screw what the market valuation is, what actual people voluntarily engaging with one another agreed on based on their preferences. We, the government, know better. And of course, it's funny how they decided to know better on that particular guy's deals. And like so many of these cases, it just doesn't pass the smell test. But as we get closer to Election Day, folks, it is going to get nastier and nastier, sillier and sillier. And we'll be here for it. Again, Joey Clark Live on YouTube. Like and subscribe, or on Twitter on the X platform at the Joey Clark. Give us a follow there, because these next few months, well, I have a feeling we're going to see things that we did not expect. Or I have a feeling the chessboard is not yet even set up. We're not even playing the game just yet. And who knows who Trump picks to be his VP? Who knows if Trump even makes it to Election Day? Who knows? Will Joe Biden even be the candidate? So many questions. I don't have the answers, nor the time, or the patience, honestly, at this point in the day, to try to answer them myself. But y'all stay tuned for Greg Budell and Happy Hour. Greg and Rosie, well, they're next. Ta-ta.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. United Nations Security Council demanding a ceasefire in Gaza. U.S. abstained on that resolution.